All right, so welcome everybody to Timcast. I am your guest host today, Brick Suit. It's kind of a slow Friday, and I'm filling in because it's the holidays and people are out of town. But we do have some stories for you today. And the top three that we'll be talking about are the rent freeze in New York. Mamdani up to some tricks. Is it a war on the landlords? We'll be discussing that. We're also going to talk about everybody's favorite felon and his mustache, Mike Bolton. John Bolton, I always confuse him with somebody else, who did plead guilty to his espionage charges today. And we're going to talk about the Pride match in FIFA soccer in Seattle, where we've got two teams who, let's just say, they're from nations that aren't really amenable to the issue of pride as a virtue signaling identity factor, and yet they are smack in Seattle, where Seattle is having kind of a pride overview. So we will be talking about that. I'm out here on the East Coast for basically the next few weeks. We're going to be having all of the America's 250th stuff going on in DC, and I'm going to hope to, if you know anything about me, I like steam trains, so I'm going to go up to Pennsylvania and see the big boy steam locomotive as it makes its way back to Chicago. So I'm out here for a whole bunch of stuff, and one of them turned out to be this. So I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves, and we'll move on from there.
Before we get started, I want to introduce our sponsor. It's Cask Brew Coffee. This is a company started by Tim Pool about 4 years ago. Cask Brew, it's done extremely well over the last 4 years. Some of the coffees are spectacular. The one particularly that we're pumping tonight is the Appalachian Nights blend. Excellent dark. I think it's a darker blend.
I will say my dad never stops talking about Appalachian Nights. That's actually a fact.
I've actually been drinking it as cold brew. We had an event a week ago and sold a bunch. It did extremely well again. So if you haven't been to Cask Brew yet or tried any of this coffee, do it. Go to caskbrew.com. You can get Appalachian Nights. I also have a coffee called Graphene Dream. It's a low acidity blend. But focus on the Appalachian Nights. Get it. Get it. Enjoy the power of Cask Brew Coffee. I'm Ian Crossland. I'm happy to be here. I also want to send it around the horn and introduce some of our panel. Today we have Olivia Dasovic.
Yeah.
Talk to me, and Lib.
Hello, my name is Olivia. I run our community here at Timcast, primarily the Discord. You'll find me on PCC sometimes or just hanging out. Raymond?
What's up, guys? It's Raymond. It's your boy Raymond G.
My name is Kellen Leeson. I'm content and production here at Timcast. I just did Tate's show, though, the other day, so that was fun. And I'm happy to be here. It's Friday right before the holidays. You know, it should be a fun one.
And I'm Carter Banks, as usual, doing the button pressing and the live mixing and mastering. Thank you to everyone who has done or who has bought the song I just put out. I really appreciate it.
How's it doing?
Great song, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Are you gonna beat
It's
Lizzo?
doing really well. It's not going to be Lizzo, but it's 27 times the amount that other Traveler songs have
Nice.
sold. So,
Oh, the
anyway.
bass line's great, dude.
Oh, thank you, man. But anyway, yeah, let's get into it. I'm looking forward to it. Brick, let's go.
All right, so our first story is the rent freeze. Now, I'll wait for that to get pulled up here. So Mamdani has, as you know, promised people in New York everything he can think of to get their votes, and now he's trying to deliver on it. So this out of Fox Business. Mamdani celebrates rent freeze for stabilized housing as board member quits, blasting the vote process. And it says a board member who resigned Thursday asserted this year's RGB order was decided last year on the campaign trail. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is really just basically the opening shot on the war against landlords in New York, because what they're going to do is try and freeze all these rents, and as expenses for property maintenance go up, landlords are unable to maintain their properties as easily as they're able to. And we all know that things break down, especially if you have an older building where the subsystems are going to need to be replaced. And when that happens, it's not inexpensive. You might have a boiler system, you might have you've got your not just your heating, but all your plumbing and everything like that in these brownstones that needs to be replaced occasionally. And it's just hard to do that on stabilized rent when the costs themselves that are incurred to you are not stabilized.
How does it work, rent stabilization? Does it go up like 3% incrementally every year? I used to have it in California, I remember, as a tenant, and I thought it was awesome.
I don't know the specifics of how it's working in New York, but generally that's exactly what it is. There's the board that sets like what the allowable increase is each year. And then there are also things like when a tenant leaves, you cannot raise the rent more than a certain amount. But basically with Mamdani making this one of his primary issues, forcing it's really a grab of private property. It really is in some ways. Like you're a landlord, you own the building, you want to rent it out to people, you've got to vet people. That's difficult enough. We see stories about squatters all the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on you as a landlord because your margins aren't always that high. And if you, let's say you're a small landlord, and you only have a certain number of units, you can't afford to have people squatting in those units or nobody in them because that's going to affect your profitability.
Right.
And everybody should be able to, if they've got the private property, they own the building, they should be able to reap some of the rewards here. And what you're seeing though is New York saying, yes, you own the building, but you can only earn this much off of it. And then if they set that floor too low and the costs go up, you could actually lose money on it. And that's being decided by New York City.
And a couple months ago, weeks ago, I believe it's called the Fix the City Initiative, where he said the city will take over ownership of severely distressed properties to hold them accountable. So this is the thing: if they can't fix the buildings because they're getting no profit, no money on these buildings, then the city's going to take over the buildings and take over ownership of them.
Right.
So like you're saying, it's a land grab.
Well, sure, but it's also a demonization of capitalism. This is the start of it, right? By being like, okay, yeah, it's yours, but not really. We're going to tell you what to do with it. This is how he's starting to try to bring in that socialism that he always says he wants to bring in, free everything and socialized programs. And so the first thing to do is to attack a private business or somebody that owns a house, their private property. So by targeting a landlord, and I have a great landlord, I will just say, like, I know a lot of people have problems with landlords. I love my landlord. I know a lot of people will say, oh, but landlords, they're so selfish and all that. But you have to remember they're paying for property taxes. They have to pay for if something goes wrong, if something breaks. It's money that they have to put away just in case. But Mamdani's basically trying to make them all look greedy and like they're terrible people. And by doing that, he makes every capitalist in their minds look the same exact
Well,
way.
he's technically taking their jobs away. It's like you own a building or you have a place that you're renting to somebody. That's your income. So
Right.
he's saying you have to keep spending money to maintain this, but you can only make this much.
This is what he's doing that's so dirty. He's not taking their jobs away. He's going to make the conditions so uncomfortable that the people just willingly quit. Right. And then, there's no blowback on him. I didn't, listen, man, we just did rent control. It's their fault. They didn't want to play ball. But this is just so rich to me coming that the governor of New York just less than a year ago was pleading with all the rich people that fled to Florida.
come back.
They're like, please come back. And then you've got the city-owned grocery stores that where's that money coming from? There's a budget deficit that Mamdani was just pleading that was fighting with the governor of New York over. So there's all these proposals and all these policies that he had to make on the campaign trail that he's now fulfilling that's just going to lead to the destruction of New York, because when the big money leaves, that's when the problems come back.
And it's leaving.
Oh, 100%
Yeah.
is leaving. I mean, you're going to see, they joked about all the poop over the winter. No one could clean up the poop. The snow removal was a disaster in New York. And these are just the immediate impacts.
The snow removal where you needed an ID to be removing snow for the city, you need to be able to present them with identification. However, if you were just voting, no ID needed. You could shovel snow, need an ID, vote no. And Raymond, what you were saying though about the buildings that are vacant being seized, that's absolutely true. But guess again, who gets to control what buildings are declared inhospitable or unfit for habitation?
The city.
The city, exactly. So they've got themselves in this loop where, oh, well, you're not upkeeping your building. Well, we'll just say it can't be inhabited. We'll red tag it or whatever their color is. Red would be appropriate given that they're communists and socialists up there. And then no one can live in it. And then we're going to go ahead and seize it.
The liberals just took a victory lap too, like last week, dunking on Trump over his comments on inflation. And a lot of the Trump Republicans right now are also saying, the inflation's just as bad as it was under Biden. So you take all of that, they know inflation's a problem, yet they're going to freeze the rent. Like, it's just going to make everything worse. Like, rent prices go up because of inflation. It's what the landlords need to do to continue to make it, let alone profitability, just covering expenses, right? Keeping the lights on, maintenance, hiring a guy to do maintenance, if what do they call it, a super or whatever. Yep. Mm-hmm. So this problem is just going to get worse. I mean, but I will say this is after the primaries last week, this is just kind of a testament to how popular Mamdani and the new kind of Democrat socialists are becoming in these super blue areas. They don't care, or they're ignorant. but they are smiling the whole way.
It seems like the dam is breaking with inflation. Since 2008, we bailed out Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, spent trillions. Then COVID, another $5 trillion. The escalating, debt, compound inflation. That we're spending $1 trillion a year, or whatever. So it's like they're pulling their finger out of one crack to stick it into another crack, and everyone's cheering like that. So they're, instead of now protecting the landlords, they're going to protect the renters for a little while, for 2 years, and all the renters are cheering. Then later they're going to pull that finger out, let them suffer again, and put it back in. Like in 2 years, when this lapses, the rents might go up by 30% across the board. You have no idea what could
they're
happen.
Not thinking about that. The leftists don't think about that. They think about the here and now. What's going to benefit me right now? Okay, this rent freeze is going to benefit me now. I don't care what happens in 2 years because I want to feel good now. They want that instant gratification of not paying their rent, or not having to pay more rent, I should say, or not paying their rent. Who knows? But I think that's what they're thinking about. Whereas people like us in this room might be like, well, in 2 years, that's really going to suck. They're not thinking out that far.
It's like when they mailed out $1,300 checks, or when everyone promises to get you $1,000 check from the government. That's what this is.
Well, it's like these apartments are not going to get better if nobody's paying into them.
of course not.
And then the city is going to come in and be like, oh, we'll take care of it. But
Well, yeah, think
you're gonna
about
live in a
put
crappy
yourself
apartment.
put yourself in the shoes of a person who owns a building that's renting it out. Are you going to invest in your building?
No.
And are you going to be sinking money in there for upkeep or preventative maintenance? Is that anything you're going to want to do? No, you're not going to want to do it.
money.
And what you're saying, not only are they not thinking about the here and now, they're not even thinking about they're not even thinking about the philosophy of what they're doing.
Sure.
It's just take. And, Mamdani is, I think really, he's in the honeymoon phase right now. And, there's another city on the other coast called Los Angeles who is trying to have their own female Mamdani, Nithya Raman, get elected. And, New York is not far enough down the road to failure yet that's going to prevent her from winning in Los Angeles. I think she has legitimate chance. I mean, people hate they hate Bass as mayor.
I mean, if it's between Bass and anyone else, you're going to choose anyone else because Bass was, the Palisades fire was so devastating,
Right.
and that's so fresh in people's minds.
Right.
So, I agree with you. I think now that she got past the jungle primary, her chances are very good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, if you'd told anybody a year ago that they're going to be basically a socialist mayor in New York City, and he's going to be doing these, and these are going to be nobody would believe you. But now it's happening for the first time. We're really starting to see him actually get some of the stuff. He was successful in endorsing a slate of political candidates, and they won. And so really, we're in that honeymoon stage where he's calling some shots and making some things happen. But I think down the road, as we get a year from now, we're not going to see the success in there, and we're going to see people leaving New York. And are they going to go to Florida? Are they going to go to Texas? They're going to go somewhere.
I hope they don't go to Texas.
He also did just get 2 million households to vote for him and any his people in the next couple of years, because if they don't got to pay for rent, they're like, hey, I like this guy.
Well, here's what anyone that's about meritocracy, anyone that's built themselves up and created a successful business, they're going to leave. They're going to look for, even if it's not to Texas or Florida, they're going to go to the suburbs of New York, maybe Pennsylvania, right? And so all you're going to have left is people that are beholden to the government, that need handouts. And when you're a Mamdani type figure and you keep promising free buses, well, yeah, you're going to get those people. Because what are other options? Vote for the guy that says you got to work hard for yourself? No, I was just getting free stuff from the last guy. So it's kind of like we talk about this so much over the years on this show about like kind of like the cycle of socialism or communism, how it just only creates more communism, more destruction, more dysfunction, and more chaos.
It hardly makes sense to me, though, that like I thought we had like made some strides in the right direction, but I guess the left has doubled down.
Well, it's like a rubber band or a balancing act, because if you go hyper-capitalist, you end up with corporatocracy, where the corporations control and govern the world. But if you go hyper-communist, then, small groups control everything and people are serfs, basically. So, like, the government bought 10% of Intel. It bought Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. It's basically, that's very communistic to centralize. And Thomas Massey was just tweeting this out yesterday. Government's bought, like, 6 different private companies, which is, like, it's balancing against corporatocracy. So there is a balance, but
here's the thing, Ian. You've got this like the public-private partnerships that a lot of governments will tout and brag about. Well, that is socialist in its nature, right? You've got a government subsidizing, you got tax money subsidizing a private enterprise doing whatever they're doing. But the left calls that fascism. The left calls that Hitler the most evil thing in the world. So right now we're talking about complete communism versus a pretty much like a semi-socialist government. We are socialist. We have a bunch of handouts through Social Security, SNAP benefits, but we're, the right and Trump is still labeled as like what you're talking about. I don't think we're there.
We do have a video, actually, to add some context to this whole story. Let's play it real quick.
New York, the Independent Rent Guidelines Board just froze the rent. That means if you're one of the more than 2 million New Yorkers who lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, your rent's going to be frozen next year.
You just got to slow down because it sounds like he got marbles in his mouth.
Okay, but why was that so?
It kind of seemed like a threat. Like
it was. It was.
High blood pressure.
People love to dunk on the guy, but
he's
he's
gonna be president.
politically dangerous.
That guy's going to be president. Unless he fails in New York in the next 2 years, he's going to be president.
Oh my God.
He's way better than Gavin.
I don't know
maybe
about
he'll win
president.
New York.
I don't know about president, but I
who else?
I see Senate, I see governor in his future. The guy's got charisma. He's able to, sell you terrible ideas with a smile on his face.
And a lot of
people
But
eat it up.
wait, isn't he born in Uganda?
I was going to say he's not a
then
citizen.
no, he
is
can't be
right?
president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Last night I was like, wow, Mamdani.
I think he was born in Uganda. I know he's only been a citizen for
let's try and
approximately
Google
8
this.
years.
Check this out.
I don't think he's but he's AOC by proxy.
Do you think
Yeah.
that stops? Like, the right, we play by the Constitution, we play by the rules. Yeah, you got to be an American born to run for president. You think this left is going to let that stop them?
No,
If Mamdani's that guy,
Well, it
they're
did
going to put
stop,
Mamdani in.
No, they don't play by the rules.
No, he
They
wasn't
just
born
force
in the
him.
U.S. He can't be president. He was
That
born
doesn't
in
mean they're not
Uganda.
going to try to change that before.
I mean, Shank ran for president.
Yeah, but they didn't let him, though.
Yeah, but then Elon
just
Musk will
saying.
run against it. If they try and it'll be Elon
Sure.
versus
I'm not
Mamdani.
saying they
Elon will
won't, and
trounce him.
Yeah, if they
but
set that
they will
precedent.
try. That's what they do.
Yeah, and there's one other thing. I mean, nobody really has a lot of sympathy for landlords typically, but if you think about what you're talking about, they're all going to be leaving for somewhere else. They're getting fair market value of their investment stolen because you're not going to be able to sell your apartment building in New York City at anywhere near what the price that you could get it for it last year. Because who's going to buy into that, knowing that these rents are stabilized and not even being sure what's going to happen down the road 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Because owning an apartment building is kind of like an investment where you've got cash flow coming to you each month, and the value of your building is also increasing, so you're making money on that end as well. But you do that only as long as you can foresee what the market conditions will be, and Mamdani and the socialists in New York are making that type of prognostication much more difficult. It's a lot harder now, I think, in New York City to look ahead and say, this is a great investment because over 5 years, this is where I'll be. Because you got no idea what they're going to do. You have no idea what they're going to foist upon.
Well, I mean, look at the Knicks parade and all the celebrations and watch parties they were having, right? If you're like all these policies aside, New York is now the place where your sports team wins, and they're going to destroy.
Yeah, that was wild.
And I get it. People will be like, riots have happened for decades after sports wins. I get it. But New York City, like with you pair that with all these other things, with being soft on crime, the rent freeze, higher taxes, an open attack from the ruling party on billionaires. Billionaires not that much in 2026. Like it's not that crazy anymore.
How does this rent freeze actually work? Does he tell everyone who lives in a building, just present this piece of paper from me that says you don't have to pay rent?
They have to be designated as a rent-controlled apartment, I believe, and I was just looking into that actually.
I just don't get how that would work.
There's rent-controlled, and then there's rent-stabilized, which I guess are different things, but together they account for about 44%. But if you're just talking about rent-controlled, that's between 16 to 22,000 units. So
Well, what did that article? The
He's
article
saying
said
rent
2
free.
million.
You still have to pay it. It's just frozen, meaning it's not going to go up.
Right. So if they're at
can't raise it.
if they're
Yeah.
at $2,000 a month, it stays at 2,000.
Because I do remember during COVID, they actually paused rent for people that couldn't afford to pay.
Oh, did they?
Moratorium. You
Well, that would've been
couldn't
nice,
pay it at
though.
all. Yeah.
It was wild. I was like, wait a sec. They just
And then,
stopped income for people.
And then what Ian was saying, that was disastrous. A lot of the inflation we're seeing
yeah.
today were all those handouts we were giving to people at COVID. So yes, leftists will be like, you guys are fear mongering. This is not going to happen. Well, it's like, we'll just give it some time, right? We're not going to see the effects of this overnight, but give it 2 years, 3 years. Yeah.
It looks like rent control in New York regularly is every 2 years, landlords can raise it by up to 7.5%. But then now it's frozen. They can't do that over this
Yeah.
next 2-year period.
Okay.
So they won't see.
So it just means like there is not any more room for growth in their investment
for the next 2 years,
For-
1 to
yeah.
2 year, I think is the claim.
I mean, it's crazy too because this is the most expensive real estate, arguably, in the planet. Is New York City.
Oh yeah.
And so they've don't have a lot of margin to wiggle. The one thing I wanted to hit back on what you were saying is, if you raise rent every year by 2%, well, that's a cost that sucks, but most people can find a way to pay that, right? All right, we need to stop going out to dinner as much. Maybe we don't take as many road trips. You can find somewhere in your budget to make up for that 2%. If in 2 years it jumps 15, 20, 30%, where does that money come from if you're already strapped for cash? If you're someone who,
Right, they're
is
gonna be
middle class,
blindsided by
working.
this.
Yeah, you're gonna create a massive homeless problem.
It's sort of why I'm not fully against rent freezing and rent control and rent stabilization because, giving a landlord full control over raising the rent by 30% every year is insane.
Well,
Now
I
the
don't think they
government
can do
has
that.
control.
Yeah, but in New York City, there's a market economy on that. You can't just decide as a unilateral action as a one apartment owner, I'm going to raise my rents 30%. Well, maybe you can if you're right against Central Park, and the market will bear that type of cost increase. In New York City, though, it's a little bit different because people have other options to rent. So I agree with you that in a situation where the public is being victimized by landlords, that rent control and rent stabilization may have made sense originally. I completely agree with you on that. But I don't think I don't think it's the case so much. That's not the rationale of what's happening now.
There's a reason, I agree, and there's a reason that those TikToks of the super tiny apartments that are the size of a closet are $1,500 a month, and people are still renting them. Right, the market, that's the market rate, and
Maybe
people are
now's
willing
the
to pay
time
that.
to move to New York for the next 2 years.
I lived in a New York closet for the
I did
first
too,
year I
yeah.
lived in New York.
How much was the rent?
$600 a month.
And when was the
$1,200, and I split it with another guy who slept in the bedroom, and I slept in the closet. And there was construction across the street. Every morning I'd be up at 7 a.m. with.
Oh, that's right, man.
But it was New York. It was New York, and there was the energy of the city at that time, and anything
that
was
energy,
possible
yeah.
with work, and you had almost unlimited possibilities.
world at your
It was still the city that never sleeps.
It was worth every cent, man.
the clubs were fantastic.
It was 9/11 happened
man.
right after I moved there, so I got to work at Ground Zero. It was spectacular.
I don't know if that was
I don't know about that part.
spectacular, but
It was a spectacle to see the building just
Yes,
jagged in the
okay.
ground. I was like, what the f-?
that may have been a
mean,
spectacle, but I don't know about spectacular.
It would be. I'd never seen a building like that.
I didn't mean to derail your.
It's all right, but I'm just saying.
Diffuse
Yeah, I think that 20, 30 years ago, people living in New York, moving to New York, looked at it as an opportunity to hustle, to outwork everybody else, to raise your level on the corporate ladder, or maybe you were in one of the industries that are centered in New York City. You were in fashion, you were in modeling, you were in photography, you were in art.
Right.
I mean, all of that was in New York City. And I don't know the extent that New York actually has that. They still have all that, but is it as large as it used to be?
No.
Are the fashion houses as large as they used to be?
Well, I think the internet
And yeah. And so I don't know that. I think that people now are like, I'm going to move to New York City, and I'm just there for the vibe. I'm just there for the vibe. I'm going to see if I attach myself to a startup. I'm going to do gig economy. I'm going to do a little of this. I'm going to do a little of that. Maybe I'm going to become like a DEI officer for a major bank and then get fired when I steal a trash can. I mean, that's what people are doing now in New York City. And I don't know if you guys saw that story.
Oh,
but
totally, yeah.
That's an epic one. I mean, that's pretty awesome to me.
surprised she could carry
Oh
that.
my gosh, to steal a Nick's trash can and get fired from your $200K per year
wild.
job. It's like, and your name's all out there for the next time you apply for anything.
the-
I mean, this
the
is
crazy
so
part-
hysterical.
Stealing is a moral crime.
And like
too.
a
You're not
day or
gonna
two
get hired.
after that video went viral of her stealing it, the Knicks came out with the city and was like, "Oh, you can actually buy your own themed trash." So she just had to wait a day or two. And
That wasn't the point, though.
just bought one.
to.
That is classic.
But New York, though, this is more of the Mamdani voting base, because there was a report and it's 35% of people are still living at home. That means 35% of people, young Gen Z, have not taken that step of independence to really do what you're talking about. Like, get out there and the world is what you make it. They're not doing that. They want 6 people in a bedroom. They want the little kumbayas to get in a drum circle and sing songs. And this is just the start.
You say 25 to 30% live at home. Is that
35, 33
Is that
to 35.
Americans across the country?
I think it's Gen Z is the exact
So
like
certain
young
age range
people.
across the country is
young
30.
adults. I don't know
I
what
have seen so many videos on YouTube of like 30-year-old dudes in their parents' basement, like, I can't get a job, life is meaningless, blah, blah, blah. In Gen Z, I guess, maybe less than 30. It's kind of crazy.
and then the lie that they're selling these people that are aimless and lost is, don't worry, free.
It's all gonna be free.
You know,
Controlled
A little
rent.
easier for you to keep thinking about.
but
maybe
like you
doing
want
something.
you don't want to own nothing and be happy. This is how it starts. It starts with the rent freezes. Starts with the state-owned grocery stores. It starts with the free buses.
Are they
you
even
know?
happy? It doesn't seem like anyone's
They
even
say
happy.
they're happy, but I don't. I think they're happy right now. I think in 20 years they're going to look at the nothing they have, and they're not going to be happy. But again, they don't look at even 2 years in the future. They're not looking at 20 years in the future. They don't care about that.
Happiness is fleeting too. It's like it's not satisfactory. Like I don't know when you feel.
What does
like,
it mean to be happy?
Yeah, like it's a dopamine kick. They'll be like, here's another $15, and you're like, I'm happy for a minute.
Speaking of someone who is not happy, John Bolton, former Trump national security advisor, pleads guilty in classified documents case. Now, as I recall, he was John Bolton, former national security advisor to President Trump, who became a staunch critic. There are a few of those who have kind of turncoated. Pleaded guilty Friday for mishandling classified information. Bolton, wearing a dark suit, stood before the U.S. District Judge Theodore. I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. Looks like Chuang. I'm not sure about it. I'm sure. This is what I'm afraid of now, because I've been very critical of Candace Owens for not being able to pronounce common words like debacle and saying debacle. All right.
Architecture.
Just want everybody to know architecture. Yeah. There's so many.
Architecture.
There's so many things that
worst
she
one.
just butchers. And then here, I cannot pronounce this name, and people are going to assail me like, see?
Racist.
You can't talk either.
But that's not a common one.
I would
Architecture.
say
That's not like
that,
a speak functionality.
Yeah, exactly.
Schwang?
So I'm not sure. I don't know. So
Take a stab.
he has pled guilty. He says he's sorry for it. And, this is just something he thought he could get away with. And clearly, although I would imagine he was looking at his book deal. He's looking like, I'm going to take this stuff. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be the latest one who's a conservative or ostensibly a conservative to cash in by stabbing President Trump in the back, metaphorically, of course. And I believe that's what he was doing.
I mean, to take a plea, everyone, whenever these cases have been coming up recently, everyone's like, it's politically motivated. This is Trump's revenge. If that were true, people would actually be going and getting a jury trial. They wouldn't be taking a plea deal. Gemini says up to 5 years in prison is facing and a $2.25 million fine. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't think he's going to see a day behind bars.
Oh, I don't think so.
No.
Trump's going to pardon him.
No. He's just going to get a slap on the wrist. This is what happens. It's all show.
What did he do?
Well, no, it's a pretty substantial fine.
It is a substantial fine,
And
but
he loses his government benefits in retirement.
Ooh, that'd be huge.
So, I mean, that's
2.25
going to include
million.
medical coverage.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so it's.
I mean, and he's getting. up there.
I agree. He's unlikely to be incarcerated, and that's why he made the plea. But he's not getting off scot-free.
Says he's got to pay half of this within 5 days of his
Oh my
sentencing.
God.
Wow.
That's
wild.
He's got to have money. I mean, he's got to have money in the bank.
Sure.
In answer to your question, he had mishandling and dissemination of classified diary-like notes and sensitive records to his family members to prepare his memoir.
Classified docs case.
Dude,
that they accused Trump of.
Yeah, I know, and Biden. They're trying to get Biden on it for having paper in his garage. Like we talked last week about what a joke classification can be, where people email each other about getting lunch in the government, but it'll be classified. Like, dude, I think it was Aladdin from the government was telling us about it.
Oh, yeah.
2 L's and 2 D's.
So I find disgust in the bureaucratic persecution of Trump, of Bolton, of Comey, of Biden. It's just like grotesque because it could happen to any one of us for the most bullshit reason of sending an email that had some data in it that wasn't supposed to be there, and you accidentally forwarded it to 4 people, and you get charged 4 felonies for one thing. It's like, sorry, please continue.
These aren't lunch orders, though. This is all these are all like highly classified, highly confidential, like war plans and stuff.
Oh. Well,
I mean, it was his personal diary, and the role that he was in, that's likely what those notes were. I really doubt that it was hey, we're gonna get Chipotle. You know, Trump likes to get extra chicken on his burrito.
Probably are they releasing what was leaked?
No,
No,
they
because
can't.
it's
They can't do
classified.
that. It's classified.
that's
I
right.
wonder what it was.
It's
That's
like
a
being
big deal to
indicted
me.
by a grand jury, but not being able to know.
So the jury saw
Yeah.
during the case, the jury, or he
Plus,
pleaded before it even
you
went.
know,
to
and a lot of people like that were when Biden was accused of classified docs would be like, they're not. Yes, they're classified, but they're not actually dangerous, and that's
Oh,
bullshit.
national defense.
Because they're like just like the congressional stock trading ban. I'm going to loop this all together. You don't want people with privilege and certain knowledge to be able to profit in this country. We don't want that. We don't want AOC that knows that a certain law is going to be passed and should make certain investments. We don't want that. It's the same for John Bolton in a potential book deal or tours or even potentially selling information to other actors. We don't want that to happen. And so if you don't penalize this, if you don't actually go after these people, you incentivize other people to use their access to get rich off of it. And that's something we don't want.
I'm thinking about Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails that she sent to her chief of staff and all these different Sidney Blumenthal's and like the names of the people doing it. Like, how far back do we go? What's the statute of limitations on?
Well, there's a difference with her. I mean, she had an email server in her bathroom at her house. I mean, it was a total. Hillary Clinton's case was just a entirely different thing. Bolton was using his from his facilities at work. He was sending emails to people and including files that were, and there was another case where I think somebody was doing this and changing the titles to like recipes or something like that. I can't remember who that was. I don't think it was Bolton because I doubt that he cooks.
Yeah, they're saying he would send sensitive and often highly classified information to two family members via text or AOL email.
There's also he was reportedly hacked. Like this email was hacked by they suspect an Iranian actor. So it's like this is what happens when you engage in those behaviors. Like even if it was, let's take your example. Let's say it was just a lunch order, right? Foreign actors, if they know where the president's getting his lunch from every day, that's a problem.
It's a problem that he's using AOL email to send.
That's the real crime.
And going back to Hillary Clinton, I mean, after her emails were compromised, there was a tremendous, how should we say this? A tremendous reduction in the amount of human intelligence sources that we had in China. And basically, our agents working for us in China started disappearing. Now, is there a correlation between that's been publicly made? No, but there's definitely a lot of speculation that in some ways Hillary's leaks led to the exposure of our agents overseas. So there's even though it may seem innocuous, it can rise to levels of having actual repercussions.
Yeah, I wonder how if some future. I think Hillary's probably going to be okay, get off scot-free.
She already has this far. There's I don't know what else she could do to.
I am curious what the statute of limitations is on stuff like this.
Is there a statute of limitations on this stuff?
feloniously disseminating government classified information.
Like,
I don't know, let's find
yeah,
out.
I actually have no idea if there's
done.
even a stat. Like, what would that be? Like, I genuinely.
So I'm not saying this is a bad thing that they're nailing Bolton on this, because I just don't want. Part of me is like, good. I don't like that guy. Finally,
Yes.
and like I don't want it to be an emotional thing, because that they can turn that around and use that on anybody at
They
any
do
time.
it with Trump, right? That's exactly what they do. Is
Exactly.
they use the emotional argument.
But he's been such a bad person forever, starting all these wars and getting us involved overseas in all these wars for years and years and decades. So
And wanting to get us in the war.
And the argument you can make too, because like
he deserves it.
one, I'm Gen Z, so like the John Bolton outrage doesn't really hit as home for me as it does others, because Trump won was my first election I could vote in. So like this John Bolton drama, I was still so young. But with Biden mishandling classified docs and Trump, well, they're the president. Like they control what gets classified. It's up to them at the end of the day. John Bolton's not the president, you know? Right. And so that's where I'm like, it is different than the other cases. And statute of limitations for something like this is about 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Really
too.
interesting.
5 years from the date of the offense.
They should make him cut his mustache as part of the penalty.
They should.
Oh,
you should have
public
to shave his
humiliation
mustache
ritual.
off. It's pretty bad.
Shout out to Alad though. I know he's he's barely hanging on there.
I know. We're praying for
Our
you,
resident Bolton bro.
Did anyone break the news to him?
I don't think
no.
so.
Has anyone
I'm
checked
sure he
on him?
knows. I'm sure he knows. I'm sure there's like a bat signal that goes out to all the Bolton bros.
They have a group
Part
chat
of the
going.
documents.
It's just a big, huge mustache and searchlight.
We're not going to hear
Is that the
it.
bat signal? No, it's the Bolton signal.
Yep.
Yeah, Bolton has not been one of my favorite actors either. I mean, he was. If you remember back to, we had a reconnaissance drone that was shot down in the Gulf War in President Trump's first term, approximately. And let's be honest here. It was an expensive drone. All right. So when I say drone, it's more likely to be categorized as an unmanned aerial platform, approximately $300 million, if memory serves me correctly, maybe a little bit more. And Bolton wanted to go to war over it. But that's why you have drones. That's why you have them that's why you develop those remotely controlled platforms to gather intelligence, so you don't have to send a pilot in harm's way, because when a pilot gets shot down, it creates a whole other thing. And we saw that, unfortunately, recently with the pilots that were shot down in Iran and the subsequent,
I mean, all the money it spent to just rescue them. And
Correct.
thank God we did.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just $300 million then. Then
Right.
it's how much money are you spending on the rescue plan?
Right, and that's why you've got drones. You use them, you gather your intelligence. And we had one shot down, and Bolton was like, "They destroyed our drone. Let's go to war."
Well, as our guest was saying a couple weeks ago, so he used to work in the intel agency. His name, what was his? Oh, he goes by Aladdin.
Yeah. His name keeps coming up. and
Aladdin.
He hears it every time, and then he clips it, and it'll be on Twitter.
I know. So
Two L's, two D's.
he was explaining how really this plan for Iran, I mean, they were trying to kick this off for a while. We always say that, with the moves that with Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria that were kind of circling the drain that is Iran. But he was saying this plan was years delayed. So Bolton might have been beating the war drum because that was the plan. And Trump was in there and was like, we're not going to war with Iran. Things are different now, but we got to think back to 2019 when all of this was happening,
Yeah, there was the 9 plans, 9 countries in 12 years. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but they're like, we're going to go into Cuba, Iran, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
think
them.
North Korea was even on the list. You're like, slow down. But they're a nuclear
They'd
power.
be kind of easy, though, right?
So, yeah, obviously conquering Iraq and Afghanistan was a pincer attack on Iran. The Israelis have wanted to conquer the region for 70 years, basically.
And if you're a
secure the reason, whatever you want
And if you're a neocon, your attitude is, why shouldn't we be the empire of the world? Why shouldn't we? If they call us the global police, well, let's actually act like it and go into these places and declare American dominance.
Probably there's a state of mind with a lot of the war mongers, if you want to call it, or this liberal economic war machine. It's like the ball is rolling down the hill. Get out of the way. Like, there's no other path than forward right now. There's too much momentum. I think that's the mindset of people like Bolton. There is no other option.
It's either that or kind of what Democrats do, where they think they know better, right? Like, you'll see this with Democrats when they talk about with black people can't get IDs. They know so well they actually end up being racist themselves. That's why I think you see with the neocons. They're just so confident that these countries are just America knows better. Let us go in. We'll fix their problems, which is kind of silly when you think of Iran and Israel and that part of the world. It's been at war for thousands of years.
I think, though,
thousands of years.
Let's be honest, though, in terms of the conservatives like that who want to say something along those lines, there's another aspect of it, and that's money from the defense industry.
Right.
They're getting, like Nikki Haley, or basically, she's kind of a war hawk, and then she has ties, direct ties to the defense industry. So, I think in the case of Bolton, that's certainly happening, where they're getting some significant funding. They're operating as lobbyists for Raytheon, for General Dynamics, for all of the major defense contractors, and so that's kind of their thing. So they fall into this niche where, yeah, I kind of believe this, but I'm also making a lot of money on it too. And I'm not going to be the one who raises my hands and say, I want off this train. I don't want the money. Yay, war. And that's what Bolton and those guys are like.
Do you believe the argument? The one argument I've heard is you use it or lose it. Basically, we have these munitions that were built decades ago. We need to use them, or we lose the money that we spent making them. So Ukraine, ship them to Ukraine, give them to Israel, drop them on Iran. Do you think there's any, do you believe in that at all?
No, I don't. I think that the use it or lose it argument is just a smokescreen for the buy new stuff because we just used our old stuff.
Well, that is the idea. But but that is.
But it's not that we're not going to. So are you saying it's going to become obsolete, so give it away so it can be used?
Exactly.
Or just get,
And then you
I think
actually
it's-
can justify spending the money to get new munitions built.
That's what the root of it is.
Right,
So
right.
it's basically to clear the decks for new purchases. So in the case of a lot of things that were going to the Ukraine war, even under the Trump administration, which stopped that going in, we did allow NATO to some NATO nations to make donations to Ukraine on the basis that NATO was going to buy new stuff from us. So NATO was giving the hand-me-downs to Ukraine and then buying new munitions from the United States. But it's not a case of when you say use it or lose it to a normal person, I think they think of it in terms of like something that's in their refrigerator, like a use by date. It's going to be bad. You know, a 500-pound bomb is going to be good for a while. It's not going to go bad if you don't drop it on somebody. Maybe in the long term, a century, who knows? But I think it's not like let's have a war, let's use all this stuff. Because otherwise what we spent in the past is going to be bad. It's like, let's get rid of this inventory so we can spend on new stuff. And
It's also effectiveness, though. I mean, as we're seeing in the Ukraine war, the emergence of not the drone warfare that you're talking about with Bolton originally, but these tiny little...
tiny drones.
The tiny drones, the size of like a Prius at largest, you know? And so it's a whole different... Like, these defense manufacturers had to completely change what they were making. You know, it's not these big missiles anymore that you need an F-15 to drop.
Right.
They saw it in World War II. Some of the boats they would bring out were like 20-year-old World War I or ships that just got obliterated in combat by new weapons. So you might see them because I think it was Stephen Aladdin again. Al-Badi was his name. Stephen. For the third time, I'll bring him up. But I think it was him that mentioned that a grand percentage of the stuff we sent to Ukraine failed. The weapons and munitions just failed.
I think he said it was like a controlled failure, like almost like a scheme.
Like they were sending them bad weapons on purpose.
And then when he brought it up, then they were like, "Oh, you can't talk about that" or something like that.
And
and that's kind of what I was
a lot of
alluding.
artillery shells.
And that's what I was alluding to is just the use it or lose it. Like, hey, we can sit on stuff that we know is bunk or has a high chance of failure, or we can give it to Ukraine, then we get new money, replace that stockpile. And
I'm increasingly, the more I see of emergent small unmanned aircraft, small drone warfare, it's scary. And especially the ones that people are just now becoming aware of in the public are the fiber optically guided ones that you can't jam them because they're not controlled by electronic transmission. They literally are trailing out a wire of fiber optic cable, and the operator is controlling it via light passed down that cable to the drone, and the drone is a camera and is passing the image back the other way. And it's a very scary technology. We just had the threat of drone attacks at UFC. You know, for instance, so people are talking about using drone attacks in a domestic terror operation. And once that fiber optic guided technology becomes ubiquitous, that's going to be really hard to defend against. And I think the only thing we have going for us is that there are a number of American contractors in that industry space who are hurriedly trying to deploy countermeasure drones that will bridge that gap. So we're entering a time and space of rapid proliferation and adaptation of drones in ways that we haven't seen before. And it's not going to be just like the type of armament battles we've had with other countries in the past, where it's like we build a battleship and you build a battleship that has guns that are 2 inches bigger. And so now we go to a 16-inch battleship in the Iowa class and you come out with the 18-inch battleship guns of the Yamato class in Japan. It's not that over decades. It's a matter of years and capability and
have you seen the stuff that Anduril is Paul Milwaukee's coming out with? So cool. He's got the basically Call of Duty vision. You can see through walls because you've got a drone connected to your smart glass. It's sick. And I think that we do need to invest in that, because if we don't, and I'm not for intervention, but if we don't invest in those and build our stockpile, well, China will. They are doing it. And
you said the key word, it's stockpile. Because when hostilities break out, you're going to be fighting with what you've got. You know, you're going to have a set amount of drones in your inventory. You're going to be battling out with your adversary with what you have at the time that hostilities start. Sure, you can ramp up production, and sure, you can try and surge supply, but effectively, you're fighting with what's in the pipeline, because the military conflict is going to be so in the short term, it's going to be so much more intensity than the long-term conflict. And so you can't just rely upon, okay, now we're at war, we're going to start building more and start shipping them out. It's really going to be like, what do you have on hand when you go to war?
Those fiber optic drones, I don't think they can last too long. Because I don't know if you guys seen over there, the fields, the cities, there's lines. It's all this lines of tiny fiber optic lines covering the street lights. The
Spider webs.
Yeah, it's just they're everywhere. And it's great for Ukraine because it's third world and nobody gives an F about them. But I'm not sure if a place like New York City or something like, in any kind of cultural first world would be.
It is a problem. I mean, Ukraine is got some of the most fertile soil on the planet. It is it's
a breadbasket.
That's what they call it, the breadbasket of Europe, if not the world. So, I mean, yes, I see what you're saying. It's like, they're not the most advanced civilization compared to in America, but that land is now littered with these fiber optic cables that no one's interested in cleaning up, So
that's why it won't last. If we want to keep making bread from there and using their land, they're going to ruin it. It's going to be not useful down the road.
It's a sort of scorched earth tactic by just polluting the landscape with.
Dude, look at the videos. It's lines.
They're not doing it for that. They're doing it because their drones that were controlled by radio transmissions were getting jammed effectively by Russian forces, and vice versa. So by going to a drone that's controlled via fiber optics, it's impervious to the current countermeasures that the enemy side has. So you can fly your drone, and on the other side, the Russians see, hey, there's a drone coming. Let's do electronic countermeasures against it. There's nothing to jam. There's no signal.
And when the drone blows up, you get a 3-mile length in like this dental floss. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than that. That just drops wherever, in trees, on top of camps, in fields, and just miles and miles and miles of this fiber optic cable.
Ideally, you'd create a cable that biodegrades with the rain or something like that. The thing is, if you're flying drones over enemy territory, you kind of want to pollute the territory when you're done, even though it'd be considered a human rights violation, like a chemical attack.
No, I don't think so, because Russia wants to take the territory for Russians. Ukraine wants to keep the territory for the Ukrainians. These people don't want to return to nothing. They have the intention of returning to this land.
But in the meantime, like if you're fighting, if the war is real enough, you don't care about preserving the territory until you get it. Then you got to rebuild
I guarantee the locals there care. I guarantee the people on the front lines probably care. Maybe not Putin or Zelensky.
Right. Nobody controlling the war. Like, I mean, obviously, you'd rather get a preserved territory that you can just walk into and turn the lights back on. But if you have to kill everyone and blow everything up to take it, you'll do that to take it and then rebuild it from scratch.
But the degree of contamination from fiber optic cables is nothing compared to, say, the problems.
Chernobyl.
The problems that you have with like widespread use of landmines or anti-personnel mines or chemical attacks. And of course, I'm not even going to mention nuclear attacks, because obviously that's kind of a last use case scenario that would make it unusable for decades, if not longer. So you're right, they're not going to care. But the effect that fiber optics are really impacting the environment, I think, is probably, it's a problem. It's greater than zero, but it's not like an overarching concern about the poisoning of Ukraine due to this stuff.
Yeah, I think you made a good point that they won't last, is what you said. It won't last.
Yeah, they can evolve past it.
But pointing out, like, in the current iteration and amping up of scaling, like, it's really dirty. Like, it's producing a lot of pollution, albeit it's fiber optic cable. Like you said, it's not nuclear waste, but it's just the beginning. Like, if you imagine 100 million times more drones than what we're using with fiber optics, you could completely desecrate a landscape with fiber optic. It's like plastic. I mean, it's like rubber, which just lays there and becomes super toxic over decades. So you'll need to.
I mean, think about the if you want to, I'm going to put my leftist cap on for a second, but if you care about the environment, think about the environmental impact of mining all the materials that goes into just miles and miles of the fiber optic cable and the drones themselves and all the components that take to build the drones. I mean, it's a one big. I know we kind of gotten off topic.
Yeah, I know.
But it's.
All right, let's move to a more fun topic.
Okay.
Fun for us to look at other people's dilemma, and this is coming from the New York Post. This is in soccer. We're talking about FIFA here. Iran and Egypt outraged over Pride Match designation for World Cup face-off, and they urging FIFA to scrap the LGBTQ plus affiliations. I wondered where's the 2S? Where, if this were in Canada, this would be all that alphabet soup with the 2S and the A, B, C, D, E, F, G and attached as well. So what's happening here is Iran and Egypt have a game being played in Seattle, which is a pride match. Seattle has designated as a pride match. This is slated for June 26th, and it's coming during Seattle's Pride weekend, and it's being referred to as a pride match. And I don't know if you could come up with, you might be able to, but I don't know if you come up with two teams who are currently in the World Cup who would be more diametrically opposed to appearing in a, or theologically, everything in opposition to a pride match, and yet they are playing it in Seattle.
Are they playing against each other, Iran and Egypt? So, okay, this isn't going to happen, but loser has to dress up as a woman. Like, if you're like, look, whatever team loses, we're going to parade you around. Like, it could get
You have
that
to
real.
join the Pride celebration.
So FIFA has a rule this year that I don't know if you guys have been watching the World Cup, you'll know the rule that I'm referencing, where you can't cover your mouth and when talking to another player, because the implication is you're saying something naughty, saying something dirty. There was a player that got actually either a yellow card or a red card for doing it and got kicked out of the game in this World Cup. And I bring that up because FIFA knows, like, they're very protective. They know how crazy fans can get and how, like, riots happen all the time in soccer stadiums around the world. In the U.S., soccer's not the big sport. We don't see it. But in the whole world, riots happen. So now what do you have when you've got two very Muslim countries that reject pride, reject being gay, and you put them against each other? There's already a rivalry. There's a high-stakes game. And now you've got something that their religion is adamantly against. I'm shocked that FIFA, who's got a hand rule covering your mouth, is allowing this.
When I first saw this, I'm like, are the Iranians trying to curry favor with the American MAGA people? Because MAGA's like, I don't know about all MAGA, but people that are like hardcore MAGA, they're like anti-trans. They're like, no, it's weird to make a young boy a young girl. Like, that's not real. And I don't know, I'm not blanketing everybody across MAGA, and this isn't quite answering your question, but like, first thing I thought was like, damn, are they trying to get on people's good sides in the U.S., or do they truly just not want pride?
You have to have, I don't know. I have a feeling they put a bunch of money into the pride match, not knowing who the teams were going to be at the time.
Correct.
100%.
And now that there's a bunch of money behind it and it's Pride Month, the city refuses to back down.
This is the pride match? This is a
Yes.
specific
Yeah.
match that
Yes.
they picked Iran?
Yes.
Well, Egypt.
Well, they didn't
That's
pick
how.
the
That's how. They're like. Basically, the game was
With the
floated
mog.
to Seattle. Seattle's been, for
Seattle. Chaz and Chop. And,
they've been planning it for years, and then basically, how do you extract money from corporations into Seattle for a sporting event? Well, it's going to be Pride Month, and there will be rainbows everywhere, and it will be wonderful, and you can't say no, or you are bigoted. And then those companies donate money and support the program and support the game and support the PR, and then the teams get determined, and it just worked out that these two teams are playing in Seattle during the Pride match.
And what if both just don't show up?
I mean, that's a
wondering about
possibility.
I was gonna
honestly.
say,
it's
like-
a
That's
possibility.
today, right?
Now, we looked at the standings before recording, and this is a kind of a must-win for both teams. So I think they will show up. But it's so Americans, when they're not going to go to a soccer game, and if they do, these are not two teams that really come to mind. People want to go see Messi. They'll go see Argentina. They want to see Ronaldo. They'll go see Portugal, right? Maybe they want to see England. It's the biggest sport in England. They're not going to go into an Iran and Egypt game. So who's going to be in those stands? Iranian fans, Egyptian fans. You're not going to get the neutral party that might be okay.
Or spectators that want to see what happens.
It could be
That
that.
could
would
be.
go.
Are they like running out mid-game with
I was
like
gonna
pride
ask,
flags?
We don't
and
know
doing
What
Yeah.
makes it
celebrations?
a pride game? Like,
Well, it's
what
actually
makes it pride?
It's actually the game itself is not officially a Pride game. Okay.
Seattle's declaring
It's
it.
happening in Seattle. Seattle's calling it the Pride match. It's happening against the backdrop of Pride Month. So it's happening in Seattle, and that's what Seattle's terming it. So it's not like FIFA has officially sanctioned this as a Pride event.
Like,
But
this
it's
is a gay
happening
game.
in the center of it's
they
happening in
go.
the center of an all-encompassing
So you're
push
telling
for
me
pride in
all
Seattle.
the players
Oh,
are going to be
so-
going there, and they're just going to be surrounded by pride parades, pretty
So
much.
they actually, the countries complained to FIFA in December. So they've known this was on the
wow.
calendar for a while.
Wow.
And I'm surprised FIFA's got one of the most influential. They got stadiums across the country to cover up their logos. Like the Mercedes Stadium in Georgia doesn't have the giant Mercedes logo on top anymore. Levi Stadium in San Francisco had to cover up Levi's. Like
Why?
that's because of how protective FIFA is of their brand. Yeah. So it's shocking to me that they're allowing this to go on.
We know that the mayor of Seattle's not really one to be considerate towards business interests, though, right?
No, not Katie Porter. I can't remember her name.
I just remember, like she was saying, let them leave about the businesses, about all the businesses leaving Seattle.
Katie Wilson.
Yes.
So, I mean, even if FIFA had said something to Seattle's just about, we don't give a rip. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to, because they can't back down on pride. Because think about what happens to them in their next election. They get obliterated.
Quite a pickle they put
Because
themselves in.
they've got to support pride. They can't back down. They don't have a choice.
I just think that, I said in the 30 minutes ago how Democrats think their worldview is superior and they can put it on you because you don't know better. This is a perfect example of it, where the Seattle activists and the progressives say there's a quote that they think this is a good moment for inclusivity between these two countries.
Yeah.
They're doubling down. They know
Match
better.
at Lumen Field is
They
an
know that
inclusive event reaffirming that rainbow flags and other flags representing sexual orientation and gender identity are permitted under the FIFA World Cup Stadium Code of Conduct.
Now, their cultures, Iranian culture and Egyptian culture, be damned, because the Seattle residents and the people organizing this, they know better.
There's a balance to exposure, exposing someone to your culture and getting them to accept your culture. There's a balance, because like showing someone a butthole doesn't mean they're gonna be okay with gayness all of a sudden. Like you can't just force. And I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it's an extreme point to make. Like you can't just
The closest comparison I can think of is making like two black teams go play at a Klan rally or something like that.
It is similar to that. I hope that the people of Seattle understand that it is similar to that.
They don't
for these people.
understand, or if they do, they don't care.
They don't care.
And it's just about who's gonna bend the knee, the people of Seattle or the Iranian.
It's not going to be people of Seattle.
No way, yeah.
Because like you said, they feel they have the moral high ground. They're going to stand on
Unless
it.
they think that waving their little flags is going to change their minds and they show up.
I'm just saying, you've
You're
got,
right.
a lot of these, these aren't the people attending this match are not the Muslims that you kind of see. They're not the RGC, right? They're not the most like hard edge, like Muslims out there. But imagine losing a match you needed to win, and then you've got something insulting your culture and your religion waving in your face. That's going to piss a lot of people
I
off.
wonder if we'll have a pitch invader.
Ooh.
This would be a great match for a pitch invader. With a nice little rainbow flag, maybe festooned, or maybe, maybe just with. I want to say where they would have the flagpole inserted as they're running across, but I'm thinking of. I think we can all visually think about a flag just
Maybe like
trailing
drag.
behind them. Or they could take a page out of the WNBA and throw multicolored dildos onto the pitch.
Just to add
That
some
would
additional
be-
context here,
That would be some good stuff.
Iran is one of 6 countries in the world that formally imposes the death penalty for same-sex
Yeah.
relations.
And Seattle's
Wild.
huge.
And Egypt jails there's evidence of them jailing
And
gay
Iran
and
just-
lesbians.
Just kills them.
Seattle has a big soccer fan base, like the MLS and their small FCs, their football clubs. The Seattle people love soccer.
Well, MLS has expanded. Like, there's like 30 something teams now. Back when I was a kid, I watched MLS. There's 12 teams, and in the last 15 years, they've just exploded. So the popularity is growing across the country. But again, when you're thinking of like who are the international stars, who are the international teams that you want to go see, these unfortunately are not 2 of them. So I don't think you're gonna get those
You'll get
fans
the
that are
people
all
in
about
Seattle.
soccer.
You go to Seattle.
I think you're gonna get activists here. I don't think you're gonna get the.
You might get some spite attendance. You might get some people from Seattle like,
Just say F it.
I'm going to shove it in their face.
I'm going to show them the
Metaphorically.
100%.
Metaphorically.
Are they gonna
I'm going to bring my
broadcast this?
pride flag and I'm going to go, because it's just 90 minutes and whatever, $100, but this is like a protest for
And
them.
they're on your turf.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you feel, you feel like you are invincible because you've got the mayor who's
Home
pretty much a
field
communist.
advantage.
Home field advantage with the commie mayor, and as progressive as the city is. So
And there will be rainbow flags.
This is kind of like if the
Right, it's not
Iran,
illegal, you said.
what's that?
Nothing.
If Iran was hosting it, that making all the women wear burqas that attend the game, that would kind of
this-
be like that.
this happened when Qatar hosted. There was a lot of these restrictions culturally because of Qatar's culture. You know, and that was 4 years ago.
What were the
I
restrictions?
don't know any. I can't think of any examples. off the top of my
Alcohol
head.
consumption.
Yeah, didn't,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's,
trouble.
you know, England is famous. I mean, there's a lot of soccer hooliganism, and I'm not going to say I'm a fan of hooliganism, but soccer culture in Europe, or I should say football culture in Europe, if I'm going to be sensitive to their needs, but I'm not. So I'm going to call it soccer culture in Europe, such that it is. You know, the supporters of each team will go out and tie one on. You know, they'll get really uniformly drunk before the game and during the game, and that's a big part of being a fan.
Visitors were prohibited from bringing alcohol, any porn, if any public indecency, including same-sex relationships, or any illegal drugs. All of that was restricted, and no one batted an eye because that was Qatar's. That's their culture. That's the way they do things. So it's just curious that. Just, you know, the roles are reversed now, you know, and it's curious that I mean, I guess it's not that different. In the US, we like to wave pride flags and we'll shove them in your face, and I guess we're going to keep doing that.
What was that? I don't know why I thought of it, but when Germany, I think it was Hitler's Nazi party, hosted the Olympics.
Olympic, yeah, 1936.
36, and then
yeah.
Jesse, I don't know.
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens, black dude, went and won.
Yeah.
And Hitler was just like stone-faced watching. He's this white
Yep.
supremacist.
Yep.
That was really great.
Wait,
Like,
was he
went
white
into their
supremacist or did he
territory and
just hate
just
the
dominated.
Jews?
Huh?
I
I
think
think
he just hated
he was definitely.
Was he?
Yeah.
He was an Aryan supremacist.
Yeah, he wanted Aryans and nothing else.
And so to really smack it to him and be like, look, other cultures can be better than yours. Other races can be better than yours at certain things.
I think it's a lack of respect is like the biggest thing. Is it's just disrespectful to people. Like, yes, they're coming to our country and they have to realize we have different customs, but these are the same people that cry about not respecting somebody else's culture and, oh, you're a cultural appropriator. And then the second they're faced with somebody else's culture not accepting them, they don't know how to act.
The funny thing is about it all, and it's not like funny ha-ha, it's more funny strange, or little ha-ha, is that it's a kind of an aberrant culture. And trans agenda isn't really a huge, you know, it's not the majority of the United States by far. It's probably like 1% to 2% of the population is really
Yeah, when
fervent
you
about
think
that
of
kind
America,
of that.
you don't think of this.
I know, so it's
No.
Well, America we're a largely libertarian culture, whether we admit it or not. Like we're in West Virginia, we're in the Panhandle, and you'll see a pride little like on the corner, little pride
Charlestown.
demonstration.
Yeah, but it's still a minority.
But like you don't see people, the residents, like getting out of their cars and getting in their faces. They shake their head, they sigh, and they keep driving.
Yeah.
They keep, but we're
accepting
very
people.
tolerant, right, in this country.
Overly so.
Overly
Yeah, I
so.
would
So
say, yes.
what happens though, like when you get Iranians and Egyptians who are not as tolerant, and they think that waving a pride flag is going to get the same result out of Ian Crossland as it is some of these fans. And I think that's the scary part of this whole situation.
the
Like,
fans you're talking about.
what happens after the match, right? What happens, you know, you want to go out and get, well, I guess they're Muslim, they don't really drink that much, but you know, you're going out for a bite to eat after the match.
But everyone else will be drinking. Because
Everyone else-
yeah.
Avoid rooftops.
Is
I
some
might add.
Iranian dude
Avoid
coming
rooftops.
here to watch soccer, then he ends up maybe getting drunk, hooking up with a dude, thought was a chick, but couldn't
What?
really tell. And then after he's like, you know, it wasn't so bad, actually.
You just lost me.
I'm just
lost me.
thinking about
Ian.
potential. I'm big into contingencies, so just in case.
The game's not being played in Thailand.
That's
Yeah, I don't think we have a ton of lady boys here. Yeah.
The game's tonight. Well, the other weird thing too.
How many dudes do you think are accidentally?
Yeah, the game's tonight. Basically, as soon as this finished, as soon as we wrap, go on Fubo or Fox and watch the game. But what's weird? Oh, I just lost my train of thought. The other weird thing about Iran is they were barred. So the Iranian national team was barred from being in the United States for more than 24 hours, except for this match. They were allowed to arrive to Seattle
weird.
2 days early for this match.
They've been here for 2 days cooking.
Well, I sure
Out the
hope.
window.
I sure hope
In the gay.
I sure hope the native Seattle people who were in support of the Pride movement were outside their hotel, clanging on pots and pans like Minneapolis was for ICE agents. I mean, that would be a perfect time for them to just be, you know, blasting Donna Summer and all those great hits from the '70s, from the Studio 54 days outside their hotel nonstop. That would be. I would have paid money to see that. Maybe.
It's going to be interesting.
It's not that the queer agenda is Free Palestine. It's not it's a correlation. A lot of times you'll see people in the LGBTQ about like, acceptance and tolerance are like, hey, also the Israelis are obliterating the Palestinians. We need to free Palestine. So they're kind of sympathetic with the Iranian move about like, hey, Israel's a bad guy. But I don't know. But then the Iranians will put you to death for being gay.
Well, they don't care about that. It's a virtue signal because it sounds good when they say it. It sounds like I care about human life because I'm saying free Palestine. I'm saying don't bomb Iran. So I'm so much better than you because I said that, even though those same people that could be at war are the same people that would throw them off a roof if they ever went there.
This movement is also like a new political faction, a new political like ideology. It's not just about being gay or queer. It's not just about black and brown people, right? It's all of this stuff combined. That's why you get the Palestine. That's why you get the Progress Pride flag with the black stripe and the brown stripe, because that's supposed to be people of color. And you group them in with the gays, and now they're all about free Palestine and queers for Palestine. This is just their logo.
What if they made like an Iranian one? They're like, we added you guys to the flag. Aren't you happy?
Dude, I guarantee if you look for it, you will find something with that.
Probably.
I guarantee it.
It really is. They're so anti like white dude that it's anything else can go on that flag to them.
And if anybody's going to be against pride flags, it's going to be the Straits of Iran.
Hey, bada bing, bada boom.
How can they remain
I
straight?
saw a joke that if U.S. ends up playing Iran, the winner gets the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
There hasn't been really many protests going on, and the reason is because the DOJ allowed them to leave early from where they were down the south in Southern California. They gave them time to get in there securely so no one knows.
Interesting. So that's their reason. Yeah, because the last two games, they were allowed to fly in and basically fly out immediately after the game, and they had to train and stay in Mexico, and they were only allowed stateside for their game. So, I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're just looking out for the teams, trying to get them in there securely without anyone protesting them.
Do they just have one game in the U.S.?
They have three. They have three in the initial round, and then if they progress beyond that, it'll be once they lose, they're done.
This is the third game.
So this is the third game of the initial group play, and they're in position if they win again to have one more game.
Yep, and things like there's 4 teams, so all these results matter. So it depends, like if they draw or one team wins or loses, the result of the other game also kind of is a factor in who ends up moving on ultimately. So they play the games at the same time, so you can't like not if you know a result ahead of time, you might not try. You might not even show up.
If they keep winning, are they going to be here for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, it's
comfortable.
So after this,
Just
last
through
group,
the end of July,
yeah,
because
after
the
this
tournament ends in July.
and then it's single elimination starting like next week.
Right. All right. So speaking of the soccer tournament extending, let's talk about the success. We've talked about Seattle in particular. Let's talk about the success that FIFA is having and the World Cup is having in the United States. This from NBC News. 3.6 million soccer fans have attended this year's World Cup matches, setting a record. With weeks left to go in the tournament, that record most likely won't last long. So basically, every new round of games is creating a new record here. And I think that there's a couple things for it. A couple things that are happening here is that there are more teams in this year's World Cup, but I think a huge part of it is that we just have better stadiums than the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have to have Indian slave labor building these over a period of years in the middle of a desert with 100-degree humidity. We've just got better sports facilities overall, which are readily adaptable to World Cup soccer. And I did see one thing about Seattle in particular is that I think it was Paul Allen, when they designed the stadium, he specifically wanted it to have dimensions that could accommodate a World Cup soccer match.
Oh, interesting.
So because the added space you need on the sidelines was built into that stadium in Seattle. When they made that stadium, they wanted it to be able to support a World Cup soccer game. You could not put one in a modern football stadium like you see it, like Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, where the stands are just like right down on the field and you're right real close. You can't make that into a World Cup field.
A lot of what these cities are doing nowadays, so like a lot of times when a new stadium's built, it's a partnership between the private team, the private business that owns the team, and the city. It's a public-private partnership. And a lot of times nowadays you're seeing if you want a new stadium, you need to make it big enough and it needs to accommodate concerts. It needs to accommodate soccer. It needs to accommodate football. If they want to do the NHL Classic, the Winter Classic, you need to be able to put an ice rink in there, right? So these are now all modern stadiums are now being built to accommodate all this stuff. As an American, we are just like, we have a sports culture. No matter what anyone says, it is ingrained. Every high schooler is encouraged to play sports. There's high school football stadiums in Texas that sit 50,000 people. They're
huge.
They're massive. And so we are a sports culture, and it's time the world recognizes that, like, yeah, if you want to do a big global sporting event, the United States is the place to be.
We know if about a month ago we were talking about Chicago Bears are leaving Chicago to go an hour south for a new stadium where they don't have to pay taxes for 40 years, and it's because of stuff like this. You make a good point. Phenomenal new accommodating stadiums that make you want to go chill there. Like, for all I know, they're going to start building hotels in the stadium where you can stay.
When they built Nationals Park down in Navy Yard in DC, before that place was a dump. That neighborhood, there was nothing really there. It was kind of run down. They built the park there first, and now you've got these luxury apartment buildings. It is beautiful. It's night and day. The difference that
there's still problems with the Utes.
There's still problems.
The Utes are still a problem down there. Yeah.
The Utes are still a problem. But when you just look at like the people living there and just the actual, like, from a bird's eye view, it completely changed that neighborhood. And all it started with was a stadium.
That happened in Detroit too when they built the new Little Caesars Arena. It was kind of like, there was like Ford Field, Comerica Park, but then they put in the new arena, and it overnight, it felt like it changed so much stuff. So that does happen. Absolutely.
Yeah, in the case of the Navy Yard too, though, I mean, even though I should mention that I had this observation myself walking through DC after the kickoff event. And so I walked back to my car, and I was parked on somewhere around like 19th and M. I was really parked like above the White House, north of the White House, and then the event was south and to the east of the White House. But it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm in the brick suit, and I'm walking through Farragut Park, and there's no homeless there. And like nobody's on a bench, and the landscaping is done, and there's flower beds. And so DC now is not like DC was 2 years ago. It's changed a lot. It's a lot safer. It's a lot cleaner. I noticed driving into DC that there weren't people sleeping under the, sleeping under the underpasses. So when I say that about, Navy Yard, I just want to go back a little bit and just qualify that. It's not as bad as it used to be, and it's getting better.
Well, and I hope. I mean, obviously, D.C. is a unique case because it's our capital, and this is America 250. So they really want to do everything they can to make it the most beautiful city. But for decades now, the phenomenon of urban flight has been, everyone's aware of it. It's been very prominent. People are fleeing New York, L.A., and they're going to the suburbs. They're going to places like Montana and Idaho and Utah. Land is cheaper. It's safer. It's nicer. But these cities, I think, slowly are starting to recognize, hey, if we actually just clean up, our downtown areas, we make sure there's some flowers planted, there's fountains flowing, there's no homeless around. People actually enjoy cities. They'll actually be happy to, with all the amenities that come with living in high density. But for some reason, it just goes neglected, and these problems just spiral out of control.
I think, honestly, I don't know. My personal reason is brake dust off of cars. If we can build cars with magnetic brakes and that don't pour petroleum into the atmosphere, cities are going to be so much nicer. But that pollution is nasty. Gets right into your bloodstream, especially the brake dust, through the alveoli in your lungs, poisoning, toxic, raising blood pressure, confusion. Like, until that's solved, it's going to be with the internet. As long as the internet stays prominent and you're able to work online and communicate and get everything you need on Amazon.com, like, my personal take is cities are just gross.
But Ian, what happened? Like, this is, what happens when it's late at night, you get off work and you want to go grab a bite or grab a drink with a friend. In a city, you walk 5 minutes. Out here where we live, you got to drive 15, 20 minutes.
Or closed.
Or they're closed. Yeah,
they're
closed.
There's something you just said that I just want to it just clicked something in my brain. You said cities are gross, okay? And I think the one thing that's happening in this World Cup is that the world has like a concept of what America is like. And when they're not here, that concept is driven to them via media, via movies, via TV shows, not via direct experiences of people who are in the United States. And what we've got is an influx of international fans who are discovering America in ways that many Americans don't really even experience their own country. I'm wearing my Buc-ee's cap right now because, there's several people on social media, I think the most prominent of which is named Freddie. And we don't know who Freddie is, but Freddie is a German guy. And he has been embraced by the internet in such a way that literally the guy could make a post on social media about being out of toilet paper, and he would just be showered by like airdrop Kimberly Clark triple ply.
Do you know why
the guy can do nothing wrong right now?
Do you know why that is, though? Do you know why he's being showered with all these gifts and opportunities?
My read on it is people are using him for the attention. Like if you're a company, okay, if Freddie wants this or Freddie wants that, I can do something good for Freddie, and that light will shine indirectly upon myself.
Exactly right. Like Super Bowl ads, we know they cost millions of dollars, right? And that's just to get your eyes into a ton of people. The attention that this guy Freddie's getting. So American Airlines, I think it was offered to fly him. He had a flight that got canceled. What is that? $1,500 for the airline to give him a really nice seat last minute?
Attention? I'm
and how much clout, how much publicity are they getting off a $1,500 investment? It's pure capitalism.
And also, but how much would they just be? How much negative? What's the downside if they don't do that? So it's not just what they get for the positive, but they avoid all the negative stuff about. And when Freddie said he was trying to make a flight, I think it was up to Canada. He had a game up in Canada and he missed the flight connection. And I think I put something out at the time like, Freddie is a true American. He has missed the flight due to weather problems or something like that. Like that's like. Now you're really experiencing American problems. Yeah. The breakdown of our aerial transport network has come for you. And then I think within hours, he had several private jet companies.
The governor of Utah, I think, offered
J.J. Watt was going to get him a plane. Yeah. I mean, so everything. I'm like, it's at the point now where Freddie said, I really like America. I'd like to stay, but I don't think I can afford a house. Within hours, you would have Rocket Mortgage and every other lender would be giving him offers to pay his down payment, do all of his paperwork, and by the way, here's the rest of the money to pay off your mortgage just right now, so you don't even have to worry about it for the next 30 days.
You were asking why he got so popular. Yeah. So he's been Freddie. I'll give backstory for anyone that doesn't know. Freddie LA7 on Twitter. I think he posts on other platforms too. He is just a World Cup fan from Germany. Came to support Germany. They're playing in the U.S. A little vacation, and he just starts posting about America. I think the first post that went viral, he's like, I didn't realize Atlanta was like a giant forest. And it's just him, like random picture of trees in Atlanta. And then it's like him at Waffle House, and then him going to Bass Pro Shops, and then going to an Ella Langley concert. So he's just documenting, like live tweeting his experience through America, and he's just so grateful for not a single bad thing.
Going to Buc-ee's.
Like it's like insane. He like gets all these like perks now.
Well, that's why.
Which is crazy.
He got so viral, and then companies started latching on, and then that just increased the virality. Now you've got Ella Langley, who's on top of the world. Hey, come backstage passes to my concert. The radio is like, oh, we heard about this. Shout out to
great press for America.
Yeah. So
country singer.
I've been watching. I follow Freddie. I love watching him as he goes through the U.S. He complained about how cold it is inside of our arena or our stadiums. But it's been such a white pill because you have right now what's kind of birthed from the World Cup rhetoric is the heat wave in Europe. And now there's a big debate how the Europeans refuse to admit that air conditioning might be a good idea. But all the Europeans that are here for the World Cup are going around and be like, oh, it's a blessing. It's 100 degrees down in the heart of Texas, but I walk into a CVS and it's like 65. It's amazing. And so we're getting really good publicity on the international stage.
It makes me think of those black squares. You know how people will post black squares on Twitter or on
Instagram?
Facebook? Yeah, Instagram. They'd make their profile a black square. Like that's Freddie right now. He's the black square.
Yeah.
He's the Dylan Mulvaney of 3 years ago that corporations are getting behind because it makes them look good.
It's a cheap investment.
Okay.
It's very low risk and extremely high reward.
And if it's going to be that, if it's going to be something that celebrates America,
that's
all
good.
for it. And
Especially
look,
in 250.
he takes road trips. He likes to, where should I drive in Texas? I love road trips. I mean, I drove to the East Coast from California. I like driving. I would rather drive across America than fly across America. On the way back to the West Coast, there's a 50% chance I go to Chicago with that steam train I said I want to track because it's going to go through there. And I might just take Route 66 from the start in Chicago all the way to LA because I've always wanted to drive the entire route. I've only done like small portions of it, and it's always been like from here to there. Oh, I can take this little segment of Route 66. I'll do that. But to have like 10 or 12 days to do the entire thing and just drive a little bit each day, that's the type of stuff I want to do. That's the type of road trip I like because you learn more about America when you stop at a mom and pop sandwich joint or ice cream shop or whatever in the middle of Kansas than you do by flying from LA to New York.
There's a poster on Twitter, James Kilpatrick. I think he's got a clothing brand.
Love KJP.
So he had a post that was like, if you watch the news all day, you would assume America's the worst place in the world, right? There's all this division, all this, contention. If you drive through America, you realize how beautiful the people are, how amazing the places are. He's like, it's just a completely different experience. And what does the Europeans get? They only get it through media. They get it from watching the news or Twitter. But here in America and now with the World Cup, they're driving through these places. They're like, okay, there's only one game this week. What are we going to do the other 6 days? Oh, let's take a trip. Let's drive into the desert. Let's drive, and see the sights. And just like you're saying, it unlocks something in you as an American to like drive through the country.
I think it's the greatest country on earth geographically.
Oh, it is.
It's just the greatest country.
We're a cheat code.
Politically, it's pretty awesome with the Republic, and of course, probably the best government on the planet, even though it's not a
let me throw a pitch to you here, okay? Let's say you're considering going someplace on vacation. What if I told you there was a place you could go that you've never been before? You don't need a visa. You don't need a passport. They speak your language. Your money works there. And basically everything makes you able to travel there easily, but it's completely different.
Are you trying to get me to make Gaza the 51st state?
I'm just saying that's America. I'm saying that's America. You can live in Florida, and Montana's a completely different culture. You can live in California, and you can go to Colorado, and it's completely different.
Dude,
so there's so much of the country that you can see, and I have been, I would say I've been blessed to see a lot. But I've also made the effort to drive and see it. And I think that more people should do that. You don't realize, I mean, I get so frustrated seeing families spend like $10,000, $15,000 to go to Disney World. All right. When you could just, for that amount of money, you could put a rooftop tent on your SUV and you could go to Yellowstone or any not just national parks, but you could go to BLM lands, or you could go to any number of places where you can just boondock and camp and have a great time and not be given the dang mouse, months worth of your salary because you've got to go and be at Disney and get that corporate type of vacation programmed into you. The open road is there for you in America.
You can just get
out in your car and take it.
And
go to it.
Then you can go to Disney World. Like, it's all there in the United States. It's so crazy. The hyper-capitalism and the beautiful natural environment.
From Disney World to Disneyland.
Yeah, and see the whole country. Like, that's half the country pretty much doing so.
The thing about California, too, is it gets so much criticism politically, as it should, but geographically, you're in Southern California is so epic. You go to the beach, you surf, then you drive 2 hours, you're up in the mountains, and you can ski. Then you drive another 2 hours and you're in the desert with like the wildest rock formations and hot ass desert.
So we've got down here in Harper's Ferry, we've got Maryland Heights. It's a giant like cliff face. People hike it, and it's tall. You stand at the bottom of it. It's a tall ass place. Okay. You look at that, and I don't know how tall it is. Maybe 100 feet. I don't know off the top of my head, but I did look it up at one point. El Capitan.
Maryland Heights? How high it is?
Yeah, in Harper's Ferry. What I do know is El Capitan, the famous rock formation in California, is 10 times the height of that, and it's just something like, even though we're Americans and we're here, it's like just thinking about that. It's hard to.
I've still never been to the Grand Canyon. Have you?
I've flown over it.
Have you stood next to it or anybody? You can feel the heat falling down into it. It gets so cold.
I have been down to the bottom and stayed overnight and came back up the next day.
Did you sail the river or float?
No, I didn't do rafting, and I'm not gonna say I hiked it because I was on the donkeys. I was on
that's cool.
I was on the basically the donkeys that you could get there, and they would take you down to the Angels Ranch, which is down at the bottom.
Is it the biggest canyon on Earth?
I think it is, and I know that it's approximately from the south rim down to the river base. It's roughly 5,000 feet, and then if you go up to the north from the river, it's 7,000 feet. So it's massive, and there may be a subterranean. There may be a canyon under the ocean that is deeper. So if we're going to talk about canyons, we can't rule
a lot
out
of stuff.
sub-ocean canyons, but on land, it's an amazing thing to see. But it's not just, honestly, I think we're hyper-fixated as Americans upon destinations, and perhaps it's Instagram that makes that happen. And it's not so much the photo op as the things that you see while you are traveling that really pull America into you.
I mean, I say often the journey is the destination, and it's almost exact. Like it is no better elucidated by your point. It's the transgression to the place. It's the change in the environment as you're arriving. The Greeks call it orthotectic architecture, whereas the Romans would have very functional architecture where you want as many houses as you can packed into a nice, convenient environment. The Greeks, it was all about what you saw as you arrived, how it looked as you got there. It's called orthotectism. And so that's how the United States kind of is. You're driving down a desert canyon road, and then all of a sudden there's a giant mountain in front of you. Then these beautiful rivers cut across the landscape. And then and then it starts snowing, and you're like, how high up am I?
But the European mind can't comprehend the scale of America.
I was talking to someone.
You just can't.
And a lot of times when we're talking about how far something is, we say how long it takes us to get there. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's more of an American thing. In Europe, they just say, it's 2 miles or 2 kilometers. It's 3 kilometers. Out here, we're like, how far is that thing? It's 2 hours away because of how how wide the expanse is of America.
Oh, we've just accepted that it's going to take some time to get there.
It does.
Well, there's a way to
The
calculate
country's so big.
It's so big.
You can put Texas over Europe, and it's like it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. Coming from Texas myself, like you can drive 18 hours in Texas.
I'd still be in Texas.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 miles to go from like El Paso to exiting Houston towards Louisiana.
Before we veer off this topic again, and maybe this is a big ask, but can we get Freddie on the show? Can we?
Dude, if you got Freddie on the show, forget it, man. You'd have there'd be so many people. I mean, it's like that would be the biggest get. They're trying to get him at the White House.
Are they? Yeah.
So they're trying to get Freddie at the White House, and that'd be a big get too. And all power to it. If they land him at the White House, that's fantastic because
he's anonymous though.
It's still a positive message. It's still basically saying showcase America. This is something that's great about America. He sends it across the world. People are learning that. And meanwhile, here in America, our own Gen Z hates work. So we've got this positive message going out, and internally, we're having problems with segments of our society who are just really not vibing with America or what needs to happen. So let's go over this from the FP. Why Gen Z hates work. When you spend hours each day watching influencers get rich without much effort, you forget what it takes to succeed in this world. And so I don't know if I can really speak to what Gen Z is thinking. It's hard for me to put myself in that mindset. I like to think that is something that I can do because when you're involved in politics, that's something even peripherally, and even if you're not involved in politics, most people have a sense of empathy. I mean, we're not psychopaths and sociopaths. So most people have a sense of empathy where they can put themselves in the shoes of somebody else. But I recognize that it's much more difficult for Gen Z than it was for myself at that age. I mean, that's just a reality. And certain things like social media have come about, and there are different examples now. I didn't have social media success stories to look at, to emulate. From my perspective, that really just started where probably Paris Hilton, and seeing her as what she was, the amount of attention and success and financial stuff she was getting for just being Paris Hilton.
Yeah, the Big Brother, those reality TV shows in the early 2000s. Like, what was the other one? There was Big Brother, and then
The Real World.
Real World, and then these people started becoming pseudo famous and getting like brand deals and stuff. That was certainly. I don't know. How old are you now? What was your generation or age?
Take a guess.
Right.
I will reveal,
45,
but
29,
you must take a guess.
29.
44,
82.
42.
Say 46.
Well, you're my age?
Yeah,
Yeah.
29?
Kellen?
Oh, my bad. You just look so good, man.
31.
Love it.
I'm a boomer.
Really?
1964.
Oh, wow. You look really good for that.
So you're the
Nice job.
people, they're always...
Yes, I'm the tail end of the boomer generation. It's all my fault.
You missed
Literally my
Vietnam,
dad
too.
did.
I was 79,
Crazy
so
one.
I missed Vietnam. We're in a generation where we're interwar generation where we didn't have to fight. Like my dad's generation, he got sent to Vietnam.
And that was a draft, too. So let's be, for those of you who don't know, Vietnam was a draft situation. You couldn't necessarily avoid it.
He joined the Navy to not get drafted.
Yeah.
And so he got sent around to Germany, and he was in South America. He didn't serve time in the jungle, but they had like this generation that like life's not supposed to be easy, and it was for a lot of people between 1990 and 2010 or 2007, and so it's like some people had to go to war to live in prosperity. Other people, you just have to work, dude. I got my first job at 12. Walking a dog. I got my first real gig at 14, working at a chicken shack. I've never stopped working jobs I fucking hated for
Likewise.
20 years.
Yeah, but
same.
Serving people food and just being treated like, and eventually you get to a point where you're doing what you love if you keep at it long enough, and you
And
might
then
be
it's
able to
not
make
work,
money.
as they say.
I think that's rich. I mean, coming from Gen Z, we're told just work hard, right? Go to school,
Yep.
get a degree, work
college,
hard, you'll be
yep.
fine.
Pull yourself up from your bootstraps.
Exactly.
exactly what we're told.
And it's not that you can't get by doing that. It's that there really doesn't seem like there's upward mobility. Housing is only getting more and more expensive, whether it's owning or renting, right? Everyone needs a cell phone nowadays. This is a cost that the boomers and Gen X never had, a modern cell phone and a cellular plan. And you need Wi-Fi at the house for when ultimately work follows you home. Like these are all expenses that we now have. On top of like, there's no upward mobility in the job market. A lot of these places, you just like you said, you're working at a restaurant. Well, that's what you're going to get. Maybe if they raise minimum wage, you'll get a pay boost. But that's it. That's
Kind
it.
of like
me read-
halfway
let me-
in between both of y'all.
I was just going to read another paragraph here because you scrolled here. I think this is interesting. So after Daniel Hayen, a 23-year-old from Los Angeles, graduated from Claremont McKenna in 2023, he started looking for a job, interviewing with a fashion startup, a real estate company, a few tech firms, and marketing agencies. He made it to the final round of 10 different job applications. Quote, I had 5 or 6 interviews with each company. I did projects for all of them. It was a 12-week process, and some of the recruiters would ghost me for weeks. And in the end, none of the companies came through. Night before his final interview for one position, he said he was told they were postponing the role for at least 6 months because the economy is shit. So, your situation where you're saying you would work jobs you would hate, the only thing I see about him right here is he really preparing himself in college for the job market that exists
Well,
today?
that's the lie that was sold to Gen Z. Just go to college, get the degree, you'll be fine. That's clearly not the case. Now, and if you're a lefty Gen Z, right? You're like, okay, this is the result of capitalism. It failed. We need free shit, right? And if you're on the right side, if you're conservative, look at what happened in LA when they started the deportation raids. Rent dropped. It was unheard of. Everyone's like, what?
Traffic was better.
Traffic was better. Rent dropped. So now you've got the conservatives saying, well, yeah, these jobs that I'm supposed to be working, you're undercutting what I should be earning, what I need to earn to live, and you're giving it to an illegal. And yeah, right? How many millions and millions of people came in under Biden and millions before that? And so now Gen Z's like, all right, well, we've been left in the dust, right? So you have you're going to go super right wing and say, no immigration at all. Whoever's here should stay here. Everyone else, no more. Then you get the left wing that's saying, actually, just bring everyone in, but just give us all free stuff. Like, what's the point anymore?
Well, I do think a big part of it too is the rise of like a TikTok where it's like easy to get, not easy, but like overnight people were getting millions of followers, brand deals, all these things. And so they think, well, I can just sit at home and work on my phone and I don't have to go out and get a real job and learn these actual lessons of life. And I've worked jobs that I hated, and we're about the same age, Kellen and I are. And we've both probably worked jobs we didn't like, but we're also both more right wing where we wouldn't sit there and be like, oh, I just want all this stuff for free and I just want to sit on my phone all day and make TikToks. I think they're afraid of hard work in a lot of ways. And I don't know exactly why that is. I think for younger Gen Z, it's because of COVID partially, but I
think it's social. I think it's a mix of two things. I think there is truth to the fact that hard work doesn't pay off like it used to.
Yes.
And the other thing is Gen Z is definitely more like they want the instant gratification more than other generations because we grew up with social media, right? Our brains are desired for the here and now, right? If I'm working overtime, I want to see that money that day. I think that's how the Gen Z brain works. So it's one, yeah, you're getting a little bit of like the economy's stagnating. It's harder to move up in the workforce, right? The job market, obviously you're applying 5 or 6 times. You get 5 or 6 interviews for a job that's not even that good, right? So you're seeing all these factors on top of we're just, mentally we just demand more now.
How much of a push, if any, did you get for, say, going into trades as opposed to college?
I think it depends where you grow up, but I grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland, very, very left wing. They made fun of. They would say in class, "Oh, you didn't show up to class yesterday. What do you want to be, a plumber?"
That'd be a great job.
Dude,
Hundreds of thousands
so
a year.
good.
Run your own company, never replaced by a robot.
And, 15, 14-year-old me, I didn't go to look up, what's the average salary? Like I'm just like, all the adults in my life, the people I'm supposed to trust, are telling me that those are bad jobs. Those are for the people that stick around all day.
So
In our school, 1996, we had Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, Northeast Ohio. We had like the trade school building, and it was like the kids that would cut class or go out and smoke. They'd be the ones in there banging things with hammers, and we kind of just thought like, those are the dumb kids. Those are the kids that couldn't focus in class or whatever.
It was looked down. They frowned upon it.
And now they're all probably, I don't know about all of them, but a lot of them have
they make good money.
A lot of money.
Companies
out
or
here,
I haven't really followed up.
This is a very blue collar area, and you see these massive houses. And every once in a while, I'll know someone that lives in one of those houses, and it's like, what do? Oh, they own a mechanic. They own a body shop. They're a mechanic, or they're
an electrician.
They're an electrician. They own a yard service to come and cut your grass, and they have these massive 5,000 square foot houses.
We were just talking about building a farmhouse, and having one sort of the garage is as a mechanic shop, like electrical and welding and stuff. Then the other side is like for car mechanics. You need that stuff. You cannot be self-sustainable without being able to repair heavy machinery. You have to be able to do it. You either have to hire someone to come do it or do it.
Well, have you seen the videos of, and this is primarily Gen Z women, but have you seen the videos of these girls who are like, first day at my first big girl job, and then it's like they get home and they start crying at 7:30 and they're like, I can't even make my food or go to the gym, and this is stupid and I want to quit and life sucks. And it's like, yeah, that's being an adult. Like, that's not like, it sucks. We have every single person at this company has put in longer hours than we thought we would. We don't really go home and we're like, oh my God, I couldn't go to the gym today. Oh, I couldn't make my dinner. I had to go pick up dinner. It is what it is. That's what you do as an adult in the job.
And then there's the adult, adult daycares, basically, where you've got the same Gen Z women saying, this is what it's like for a day in the life working at Twitter before Elon. And it's like 9 a.m., they're at the wine bar. 10 a.m., they're in a Pilates class. It's like, well, when do you actually do work?
Like, we go downstairs and play a game together. It's like, what? What are you doing?
Do you think people, these people that are complaining, or the complaints, do you think they need to just suck it up, work shitty jobs?
Yes.
I do, to be honest.
Yes.
I have applied for so many more jobs than this one dude, and I've done all this same stuff. Dude, after COVID, I probably applied for easily 150 jobs. And I've been, I was towed across the line, given all the same shit. But I've also been working other stuff since I was 15 or 14. I've done everything from walking around a graveyard shift to make sure there was no fire starting in a data center to Cinemark movie concession stand guy to lifeguarding and everything else. But I never stopped working.
But those jobs that you're talking about, I think the big thing is they're not keeping up with inflation. They're not keeping up with the modern cost to live. So now
I'm supposed to be able to make a living off of those jobs.
But you used to be able to.
Barely. Well, in the 90s, you could. I temped. That was my thing. Is it was
you
big
used
thing
to
was
be able to?
New York City.
Temping, yeah.
Sign up with temp agencies. I had temp agencies.
I had 4 or 5 of those.
Yeah. Every morning I'd call and be like, hey, is there a job for me today? Yeah, it pays $16 an hour on 32nd Street. Be there by 9:30. I'd go in. I'd sit at a desk for 8 hours.
But the thing is, you'll do that. These kids, we talked about how many people still live at home, right? How much of Gen Z still lives at home.
35%.
They don't have to make that money to make rent. They don't know what it's like to be like, oh shoot, I gotta, get this odd job. So
every month for 20 years, I worried about where my rent was coming.
Exactly.
Literally every month.
And Gen Z doesn't want to do that.
Every year for 9 years straight. Yep. I moved.
That's crazy.
That was life. It was that's welcome to being a young man in the world trying to figure it out.
I think yes, it is. I think Gen Z is a little bit emotionally stunted in their them chasing applying for 150 jobs, being able to live paycheck to paycheck. I think they're a little emotionally stunted there. But also look at everything in their world. the illegal immigration, right? Taking all the jobs that might be there, DEI. So even if you are a qualified person, you're getting passed up for someone that's not going to do anything all day, and they're just getting hired based on the color of their skin. So you have all these other factors that are actually actively working against the Gen Z population of America. On top of them also just being this weird kind of just new generation that wants everything here and now, is more concerned with the way their life looks than actually how it is and stuff. So it's this weird kind of mix of a bunch of different things that I think are causing this phenomenon where Gen Z's just throwing their hands up and they're like, you know what? I'm done.
The instant gratification, obsession with instant gratification, because that's the thing about working shitty jobs is you'll just be there for 8 hours waiting for it to be done. And then when it's done, you get to go live your passion for 4 hours until you pass out.
Though.
That's what my life was like in my 20s, basically.
Not anymore, because, you have to have disposable income to be able to do that.
And you have to have a passion.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But you have to be able to, right now,
No, I didn't have disposable income. I worked hand to mouth, but I did have 4 hours a day where I could make YouTube videos.
You can find articles where Gen Z's splurging. It's not DoorDash. You'll hear that quip a lot. Oh, they got to stop ordering DoorDash. It's actually just going to the grocery store and buying decent food.
Literally,
that's how Gen Z splurges.
Decent food should be cheaper. 100%.
It should be,
But everything in life is more expensive, and the wages haven't really kept up. And I'm not the biggest proponent of got to raise the minimum wage. It's not that. It's just these jobs that Gen Z has available to them are not good enough to be able to live off of.
I think it's twofold. I think it's both sides, right? So part of it is the economy and the job market and all of that, but the other part of it is that we don't know how they'd be in a good job market. So the question is, would they still want to go work if these jobs were available, or would they then complain about having
Everyone
to work?
says yes.
Until they have to do
people,
it.
That's true.
Right. That's different. And so I'd be curious to see what a lot of these Gen Zers do when, okay, we have a ton of jobs. Easy to get a job. Go get a job. Then what are they going to complain about? Oh, now I have to go to work and I have to work long hours. Well, yeah, you're an adult. That's what you do. You work and you work long hours and you work unpredictable hours and you do these things at jobs. That's exactly what happens, and you suck it up and you do it because that's what you're paid to do. So I think it's both. I think part of it's the entitlement. I think the other part of it is that, the economy is not as good as it could be right now.
Well, maybe it's like having a means to an end. If you have a dream and a goal and a focus that's bigger and beyond this 9-to-5 gig you're doing, or this
then you don't sleep a lot and you pursue your what you want to do.
That's the problem, Ian, because there's a lot of art majors right now that are taking your advice and they can't afford anything. They did pursue their passion.
Major.
Well, good luck. You're up against a million other people that want it. If you're into the arts, and you can do it.
If you're in the arts, there's another guy you're up against. His name is AI.
Look at that. That's the late. I can't believe we forgot that one.
Yeah.
That's the latest wrench thrown into everything. Yeah. Now there's
that's affecting everybody.
But now instead of a company
especially
hiring
artists,
a 21-year-old fresh out of college graphic designer, they're just paying $20 a month for ChatGPT. That is something that's actually happening. So these entry-level jobs are disappearing very quickly.
What happened in the Industrial Revolution to all the people that lost their jobs?
Well, here's the thing about the Industrial Revolution and people who were dislocated from that, and it happened over a much longer time frame. Okay, so your steam power supplanted horsepower and wind power, and then you went to steam locomotives and stationary steam engines, and then they developed ways to power all of the machinery using overhead belts and things like that. And so the pace of industrial change during the Industrial Revolution is much slower than we're seeing now, much slower. So I think the societies were better able to absorb it over an extended period of time frame, whereas now it's all collapsed.
And it's the entry-level jobs going first, and that's what you're telling Gen Z to put their head down and work. Those are the jobs they need to get to put their head down and work, and the jobs are disappearing.
There's also less people there were less people in the workplace during the Industrial Revolution. Now you have men and women working. You don't have women homemaking at home. So
wasn't there a lot of children working in the Industrial Revolution?
They were creating
that's
factories, and they would create they didn't have enough labor, so you would have kids doing stuff. Even in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, you had kids working the coal mines, and their job, they were called breaker boys, and they would stand in the coal breaker, and their job was as the processed coal was sliding down in front of them, they would literally reach down into it and pick out the pieces of slate that was not coal and throw it aside. That was their job. They were picking out all the rock in the coal just by hand. the breaker boys, and they'd work there until they were old enough to go work in the mines. So, now that's not the case, but
And if you really want to get into it, it's also like what Tim talks about all the time. We've sold our souls as Americans, like not us at this table, but America offshored all their manufacturing.
yes.
Those jobs that we're talking about, they're in China now. It's Chinese people that are working these entry-level factory jobs, and slowly working their way up through the company. It's not Americans anymore.
Man, I'm like, do you think universal basic income is a good move?
I mean, that's a big, it's Andrew Yang's thing. It's a big, like, it depends on which side of the aisle you are, but Gen Z, but a lot of them are just like, yeah, of course it makes sense. Tax these AI companies and use that money to just give everyone a stipend.
If it worked perfectly the way its proponents say, yes. But there's a devil in the details there, and I don't know if it'll work perfectly. And even universal basic income will not work for everybody because some people just really want to work.
And it's also, if
They
I'm
really want to
selling-
do something.
If I'm selling a car and I know you're getting $1,000 a month,
it's gonna raise the
guess
price.
what? That
Raise costs.
Of course.
of course.
Everyone walking around is now $1,000 richer. Of course. And how do you can put laws on the books, but come on, look at what happens after hurricanes and gas stations down south. You're paying $10 for a bottle of water. And yeah, some people get in trouble, but the vast majority of it goes unpunished.
I asked about the UBI because it feels like the Ponzi scheme is toppling right now. The job economy, like where's the money coming from? Well, we're borrowing it at interest. We owe more than we can accrue as a people, as a government, borrowing from the Federal Reserve. So, like, and the whole like job economy thing is sort of a fallacy. Created by the Federal Reserve System to make you think that the only way to survive is if you get a job and work doing a thing. Like, it used to be like, hey, is the room clean? Is there food in the room? Did you hunt? Okay, we're good. We don't need to go out and like clock in and get a job to get paid by a system because we have everything we need to survive. So maybe the whole idea of the job economy thing is falling apart. I think it is. The whole idea of like, I'll pay you to dig a hole and then I'll pay you to fill it back up. And then you guys pay me back the money at interest. So I'm a little richer and nothing really got done.
We've seen a complete resurgence in homesteading over the last 10 years. So, I mean, there's more and more people are interested in that instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go work for a company that may fire me in 10 years and whatever. They're going to invest in land and build a household over time on that land, live off that land as much as they can, and use barter, as you're saying, for the things that they don't have. And, trade what they do have with another person nearby who's got a tractor. Hey, can you dig me this ditch? I need to put in a new septic system, and I'll give you goat milk for a year or whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can do that. But I think that checking out of the modern rat race is difficult, especially when you're looking at this for 4 or 5 hours a day. It takes a lot of conviction, and I don't know that everybody has that conviction. And I think people should explore the options we talked about in the trades, because there are certain physical jobs that are going to be the last ones to disappear in the United States, and those are contractors. Those are
We were moving towards a gig economy ultimately,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's sort of what being a contractor is. That is sort of what the trades are. It's how many cars did you work on today?
Mm-hmm.
How many houses did you visit to work on their plumbing? And that's what we're moving towards. It's very dystopian.
I got into investments. I don't know if you guys invest a lot. And I was told as a kid, growing up blue collar, like no one ever mentioned investing. It was like my dad's retirement fund. It would go to like a 401k, or some guy would invest, 10% of his income. But once I started actually investing, I guess it's risky. My money just started skyrocketing relative to what I could. And at first I was aiming at residuals because I thought that's the way you want your money to be coming in the background while you're doing what you love to do. So build things that sell while you're not around, do projects that people will pay for when you're not around.
And that could be why you're seeing 35% of Gen Z still living at home with their parents. Yeah, they're not paying rent, and they're using that capital that they would have been spending on housing to invest, or maybe to save and buy land.
Investing is great, but is it risky? Because like the Great Depression came along at the end of the 1920s, and all those people that had been investing with
Run on the banks.
They were investing with money they didn't have. They were borrowing money. They were taking out what's called margins on their own investments to invest more.
Correct.
To try and I guess, snowball their investments, and then when they
Leverage.
yeah, when the stocks drop in value, they have to pay that money back, which they don't have. So the stock is taken from them, and they lose all their stock, and they still owe money on top of it. That's where the depression came from, was people investing on margins. So I've done that once in my life. It was very risky, and I immediately paid it out and paid it back.
What's Bitcoin at today?
I'm not
I guess
sure.
it's
Is it
68K,
still
I'm
below
gonna check.
6? Is it still below 60?
Last I checked,
I checked 2 days ago. It was like
Lows.
58, right?
Dude, I think the world economic market it's 60K on the nose right now.
Right. So yeah, there's always risk in investing. I can remember people thinking they missed the boat when it was at 108 or something like that. Like, dang, I missed the boat, and here we're all the way back down.
I remember it was at 19. I had a coworker told me not to touch it.
We do have some questions.
We could
from
all
our
go back
Discord
and say one
community.
word. It would be Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got a Discord?
we do. We got a question.
Okay.
We're going to take some questions here. This one's from Stork. The question for the panel: how are you saying AI is still going to replace everyone when its biggest cheerleader said he was wrong and dipped out of the country? Meanwhile, companies are dropping AI because of API costs tripling, quadrupling, and it still isn't profitable.
All right. So
Take this one.
I'll say one thing about that is we're still in the infancy of the AI industry, and as more AI capability is rolled out, I think we can legitimately expect the cost of it to go down.
Oh, absolutely.
And we think that the companies are the early adopters of AI are right now getting AI at its most expensive and simultaneously at its lowest capability, because every month it will be more capable than the previous month. And over time, the cost will decline. And so I would argue that AI costs are going to go down, and effectiveness of AI is going to go up, and companies will learn how to use it better and where it can best be deployed.
And look at all these companies that have, like Micron, that have made, or SanDisk, that have just skyrocketed in value since this AI boom, right? What are they doing with that money? Well, they're going to put it into increasing their capacity to manufacture more chips, and more components for the AI infrastructure. And I mean, you see XAI is buying like large data centers and I think power plants across the country. So as this infrastructure really starts to get established and it starts to get fleshed out, the costs are absolutely going to go down. We're going to figure out as a society, and the market's going to decide what's really necessary. Is Claude coding really necessary for the average person versus ChatGPT image generation? Well, we don't know. We're just kind of playing with it and seeing what works for people. But it will, certain tools will get eliminated, like ChatGPT, or OpenAI got rid of Sora. They're like, no one's really using our video model. It was cool, but no one's using it. We're going to get rid of it. But people still very much like the image generation, or people love to vibe code these days. So what you said was best. We're in the infancy. It's only going to get crazier.
But you'll never be able to replicate my singing voice. What's that?
True.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Actually, no,
I know it probably
it's not
could,
true.
but-
Given enough high quality samples of your singing voice and enough time and enough computing power, your singing voice will be replicated.
I don't believe that.
No, it absolutely will.
No, I've tried it.
All
Man.
data points. Right
It
now,
will,
no.
it will be replicated from a standpoint of being able to imitate the things you have never done. What it will not be able to do is innovate along your progression of talent and skill and put something new into, but it'll be able to take what you've done and recreate that type of environment. But it's not going to be able to say, let's say you have a flash of inspiration. I want to take this verse in a different way than I've done previously. Don't expect AI to have that type of creativity.
That's
but
actually
expect
where I
it,
think
but
it
expect
will.
it to have a great mimicry. But
I think
this
the
question
opposite.
was really about jobs.
Yeah.
And, so that we're talking about artistic now, and that's different.
Right,
But
good
I think
luck.
it's, we're talking.
It's here to stay.
I
It's
think
like
Possibility.
AI
It's not going away. You're
It's like
right.
the
AI
smartphone.
farming, dude. You see these machines that are farming using artificial. They know what the soil content is, and where to plant the specific seeds with lasers. And
And that technology is going to get cheaper. And now, actually, it might be the gateway for Gen Z and homesteading. Hey, you can use a new AI-powered farming tractor, right? And now this allows
played
one
Farmville?
person. Yeah.
Will it get
True.
cheaper though? Because they're still not profitable, and they
Well,
need
that's what I'm
to
saying. They're
make
going to figure
more
out
money.
what is making money. the cost of operating is going to go down as the industry continues to expand. And so like we're in our infancy. If you look at Suno, 2 years ago, all the music being made sounded like a robot voice. Now it sounds like a real voice. It's just, it's not there. The human aspect isn't there. What about 5 years from now? What about 10?
But
It's
you
only getting
you
better.
also see certain companies adapting too. Like there's a Japanese toilet manufacturer, Toto, and they're famous for making toilets, and they have expertise in ceramics. Do you know what they're making now? Chips. They went from making toilets to memory chips, and because they're doing that, their stock has exploded.
I'm looking at it.
So
The cost of SD cards and like
yeah. So I mean,
gone
you're
up
seeing
1,000%.
adaptation not just on a personal level. You're seeing adaptation on a corporate level. This is an example of somebody who was entrenched in physical economy. We're making basically appliances for bathrooms, and now we're going to go high tech. And it paid out for them.
I mean, triple. Their stock is up triple.
Allbirds, the shoe company, switched to AI. I don't know in what capacity their stock went to the moon because they're like, we're switching to AI.
We've got another question
Go ahead.
here from Quit Shady of Shoal. This is what will it take for the housing prices to go down? It seems like a pipe dream for a 5-household family to live off of single income. I've been working on government job for 13 years at a government job.
Trump needs to
Over minimum wage, still living with my parents.
Trump needs to sign the Housing Act.
Yes.
It had very popular bipartisan support. It will cap institutional investors at owning 350 homes. That's it.
Well, I guess this is kind of to this question, but what do you guys think about him kind of holding it over Democrats right now, saying sign the SAVE Act, or this, like, I could just not.
I mean, I get why he's doing it, but to answer the question on like how to bring housing prices down.
Sign that
That's
bill.
the first step.
Yeah.
I mean, do that. Continue with making sure that only American citizens and people who should be here are here renting the houses or buying the houses.
Or getting loans.
Or getting loans. Those are the first two things. Continue to innovate with materials. We were looking at, there's a concrete company in Frederick, Maryland, not far from here. We were looking at that has like a new form of concrete.
What was that?
Super concrete or something. Yeah. Innovate with building materials and find a way to make the houses more durable but cheaper. I mean,
Attack the problem of housing also, I think, is very important. To attack it from the demand side. And for that, mass deportations. If you don't belong here, it's time to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I mean,
So if we've got tens of millions of illegal occupants of our country inside the United States, and they're renting homes and they're owning homes, and that is driving up the cost of housing. So to the viewer's question of how do you lower the cost of housing, one of the ways you do that is by lowering the demand for it, and you do that by making it as impossible as we can for illegal aliens to continue to reside in the United States and have it be financially viable for them. Make them self-deport.
do those and build. If there's an abundance of homes, it's simple supply and demand. I mean, the prices will go down.
So to piggyback off our question before this, if you were, and this is from E, if you were 17 or 18 years old now, what would you be learning and trying to get into that career field because of AI job displacement? I have two daughters, 15 and 17, and I'm not too sure what is a safe bet for kids their age. This is an easier question for boys.
Becoming an electrician.
Electrician for women, especially. Electrician is a physical trade that is not so much how much can you lift, how much can you, are you not doing like physical labor so much in terms of, expense. How am I trying to say this? You're not using your muscles. You're using your brain. You're pulling wires. You're working safe. You're maintaining the standards and not you learn the trade in electricity and you apply that to the job at hand. And it's not so much about you walking on a beam or laying up forms for concrete. So trades for me, an electrician is one that's
Especially with the emergence of AI. They need electricians at every single data center.
every single day.
And we were talking a few weeks ago, Ian, about just like investments in general. And I was like, well, when there's an emerging technology, a lot of things that kind of gets ignored is all the other stuff that supports that emerging technology. So like electricians is one of those things. You have all these data centers going up. Well, how does a data center get built? You need a lot of electricians, right? Welders is another good one, So, try to look at the emerging industry and technologies and find ways that can kind of support that. It would
And
be my advice.
if it's not the trades, I would recommend there's always a need for nurses. Always.
That's true.
Always a need for nurses. That
For
tends to be a
now.
very female-dominated field. They're always needed. It does require some schooling, but there is upward mobility in that job as well. So, and there's a lot of different specialties you can go into. You can be, like ICU, you could do ER, you can do NICU, you could just do any kind of like OBGYN stuff. So many different fields. So if they're not like weirded out or, don't like gore, then that's the first thing that came to my mind was probably nursing.
And one of the great things about nursing too is just like the other trades is it gives you something that you can do that's portable. You're not learning a skill that's specifically tied to your geographic area. So if you need
Travel
to move to
nurses
the Northwest, you can do it. And if you need to move to the East Coast, you can do it because there's
Or
gonna be
travel
demand for
nursing,
that.
you make so much money being a travel nurse. Oh my gosh.
Having someone in the house that knows how to stitch up wounds is huge.
That's also good. That's also good.
For the mom to be able to fix a broken bone or stop a kid from bleeding out is like, good Lord. My dad was a paramedic, so
There
I
you
just
go,
kind
yeah.
of took it for granted that somebody in the house could set a bone if someone broke.
All right, so I think we're approaching the end here. So why don't we, as typical Tim would at the end of the night, he would invite each of you to say a little outro and say where you can be found on social media or wherever it is that you feel is your best contact point.
Sure. You guys go to timcast.com/Discord. Join our members only server. You can watch these conversations happen live. You can follow me personally at Olivia Dasovic, Instagram and X. But I cannot stress enough, go to the Discord. Join us. We have a lot of fun. Raymond?
I second that. The Discord is a great community. It's a great place to be and hang out. And I'm on X at the Raymond G. Stanley at X, yeah.
We did a little Discord. I'm just going to say this, Kellen, before
Go ahead.
you give it to me. We were doing the Discord last week.
Yeah.
That was awesome, dude.
So much fun
Played music.
singing
Josie
and-
was there. Josie, the redhead.
Josie will be there tonight. Oh my gosh, of course. After you watch this and it finishes at 10 p.m., go into the Discord. We're going to have Nick Sorter tonight on the Josie Show. We are taping it live. I will be there. Josie will be there. Maybe Raymond shows up. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? Brixie could show up. He's been in our server in the past. We're going to get you set back up in there. So yes, that is right after this. Go to the Discord, watch the Josie Show, ask Nick some questions. It's going to be a good time.
Follow me at Kellen PDL and follow Timcast everything. If you had a question that we didn't get to today, hop in tonight at 10 p.m. Yeah, you're going to simulcast Josie and the Pride match. All right, that's what you're going to do. You get both of those. You're going to do some dual screen action going. Ask your questions there. This was fun, guys. I feel like we didn't get to a lot of questions, but the conversation was so good in the second half of the show.
We got to more I thought we were going to get to, but there was definitely a few more in there. Yeah, this went by so fast. I realized it was like, wait, we got to get to questions now. We only had like 19 minutes left. But yeah, man, Brick Sue, thank you for coming. Thank you for hosting. Everyone else, thank you for being here. I'm Carter
Great,
Banks.
dude.
Well, it's been enjoyable. It's a little bit of trepidation, but it's I don't know. It was daunting. I think I told you I felt like I'm a passenger in a '70s movie when the stewardess comes out and says, "Can anybody here fly a plane? We need somebody to step in." So I was a little nervous, but I think I did all right. And
Seamless transition.
if you'd like to see more of me, you can find me on X at brick_suit. So just remember brick_suit. That's my primary social media. And if you're walking around the National Mall in the next week or so, you might see me there, but just look for the glasses and the mustache because 100% polyester doesn't work in Washington, D.C. heat and humidity.
All right.
All righty.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back.
Monday.
Monday.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot.
Go.
Catch you later.